Good evening, everyone. It is glad to have everyone here on Thursday, February 23rd, 2023. And we are here for the second of two nights with the Athens-Clarke County Mayor and Commission as we have conversations with what we term our independent agency heads. Those are the outside agencies that we assist in funding from a variety of funds. First up tonight is Mary Barrett from the Department of Family and Children's Services. So Mary, thank you for being with us. I really appreciate the work you do every day, and we're looking forward to hearing from you. So take it away.
Thank you. Hey, everybody. I'm Mary Barrett Yancey, and again, I'm the County Director for Clarke County DFACS, and also do have Oconee County DFACS. But so sometimes if you hear my staff, they juggle too, but most of our work comes out of Clarke County. So tonight we want to share with you some of our successes and also how we have used the money that you have given us in years past, and we have requested the same amount of money this year. No change to our budget request. Also want to introduce Deborah Maxey Hunter, who is here with me tonight, who is a right-hand person for Office of Family Independence, and a lot of times we do get very specific questions about that. So if I'm not able to answer those questions, I did want to make sure those were answered for you all. So briefly, you all have a copy in front of you, and I learned a couple of tricks about this system this evening, so hopefully this works. So the breakdown is $17,383 monthly that we receive from you all, and that money goes towards supporting foster care youth and their caregivers, general assistance to the community. In the last year, we noticed there were some gaps in what we could provide in general assistance, so we worked with other agencies to evaluate resources that were being provided, and also worked with the local board to reevaluate how we were providing that general assistance and increased amounts in some areas so that we're better to able assist community members in that gap. This money helps provide a retention supplement to staff who have been with the agency more than a year, and it is typically paid out every 6 months on a schedule. We're able to provide staff development opportunities. This money helps support individuals going back to get an LMSW for additional supervision through their to get their LCSW so that they can better provide more therapeutic services to the families we're serving. Of course, you all help us with staff morale, which these days is significantly important as we continue with workforce development. There are also some other things we use to do this to keep our work efficient. It's no secret. We have a lot of vacancies that we are working to fill. So the staff we have do use things like Happy Faces Dictation, which is a call-in dictation service. They can be out in the field making visits, call from their car, it's documented, in 24 hours it's back to them. They can put it in the system. So it helps them be efficient and provide the services necessary to families. And then again, helping us support our board members, and then when there are items not paid for by the state. Any questions about that? Okay. Thank you to you all. We are stronger and better because of you all. I want to highlight a few successes. The Athens-Clarke County office is open 3 days a week to serve customers in the lobby. We provide services Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 9 to 3. Customers can come in and get assistance if they're having difficulty with their gateway applications, checking on the status of their applications. We are continuing to encourage individuals to use self-service options. We have working with libraries and other areas where there's computer access to help individuals. A huge success is the Family Connection neighborhood leaders are now Gateway community partners, so they can help in their districts. And again, I think it's a success that OFI and Child Welfare are actively recruiting to fill positions. We have a lot of positions we want to put people to work in. So if anybody wants a job and they want to work with us, I encourage you to tell them to come and talk to me. Another big success that I almost get goosebumps with this numbers. On an average, we serve 258 children in foster care. That's kind of our daily average, goes up and down. We had 100 exits from care, and out of that, 52 of those children reunified with family. That is our most important goal. So to see that number so high is very impressive to me. And then we also had youth over 18. When youth turn 18, they can decide to leave or stay with us. And I'm very proud of the 10 youth who decided to stay with us at 18 so that they could work on their transitional living goals through college or other programs and vocations that they have decided to stick with. Yes?
I have a quick question. My husband and I were therapeutic foster parents. And I didn't realize that last part. Has it been that way? This was in the 90s when we did it. The part about remaining in care.
So the policy has changed a little bit.
Okay.
Kids now have to sign themselves out. So we start meeting with them at 16, 16 and a half, 17, 17 and a half, and
Right.
really say, okay, what are your goals? How are you going to do this? Because,
That was the age we had, too.
a lot of
So-
kids at 18 are like, I got this, I'm going to
Yeah.
do this on my own. So we try to prepare for that and really discuss the options and opportunities that we can help with. And one of the big conversations we have is everybody needs a support system or a parent or someone. Yeah.
Right.
I would tell y'all how old I am, but I still call my father and ask him for advice.
There you go. And so the 10, and I think that speaks to your services and
Yes.
how they benefit from it.
Yes.
So the 10 that stayed in when they aged, as I thought, aged out, would not be of the 52 that unified.
No.
It would be separate because of the age.
So those 10, and I should have probably shifted that bullet over, they remained, they didn't exit.
Okay.
They stayed.
Yeah.
They're voluntarily in care. They're adults, so they get to make a lot of their own decisions, but we work in partnership to help guide them on that.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay.
I got three, but I'll wait till after you're done.
Okay.
I got three, yeah. I'll wait.
Okay. I did drop in some slides. I think the last time we were all together, and we may have some new faces, our DHS data is live on the internet. You can go in and scroll through these pages and filter for Clarke and look at information. If you're curious of how many households in Clarke County were receiving medical coverage in a given month last year, you have access to that in these websites. So I wanted to put those there. I did not connect to the internet to do digging, but we've only got 10 minutes, so I figured if y'all are interested, y'all can dig in later. And wanted to give you this just to show you the flow of work for the Office of Family Independence. And this is SNAP, TANF, Medicaid, so that you can see the lighter blue is what's been approved, the darker blue are applications processed. So the teams are working diligently to move that work through. Your next few slides are going to be definitions of the benefits and services. If you would like to read through those, I'm going to skip over those really quick. For child welfare data, just a snapshot of what the team has been doing in the Athens-Clarke County area. Our investigators responded to an average of 69 new intakes monthly last year. I currently have 2 investigators. They work their tails off. So we assessed 337 families through our family support program. We completed 404 investigations, and then we served 105 families through family preservation. And family preservation is a category where we've identified some safety concerns, allegations of maltreatment and neglect, and there is support to say there's further intervention needed, but those families are intact, and we're serving them to create a stronger family together. Yeah.
I think that is a key, well, first of all, thank you for the work that you do. That is very important, the family preservation services. So like if it's a family of 4, mother, father, and you notice some issues within the family, first of all, how do you notice the issue? Does someone call? And what type of interventions and programming do you have to make that home stable?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So anybody can make a report of child abuse or neglect. There's a hotline that's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So anytime a report comes in, we screen that report to see if it meets the threshold for us to intervene and assess with that family. Because sometimes we get called about things that aren't maltreatment. Those cases we would screen out, but if we respond, then we would meet with the family members, try to identify what's going on in that family system, figure out if services are needed, and then identify for that family what they need. Because there's no real specific, we're just going to hand you this packet and it's going to fix your problem. So each assessment is individualized to the family, and we identify services for that family. And we work in partnership with family treatment courts and advanced behavioral health systems, DJJ, and other providers in the area in the school system to really wrap families with support and figure out how to best serve everybody.
And there's only 2 people in that position.
Right now.
Wow.
So if you know anybody who wants a job and has a lot of energy, send them my way.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions about this?
I have questions. On
Yeah.
That average monthly intake, average takes us assigned, and that 69 refers to what? Perhaps I was misunderstanding it. Monthly intakes, is that 69 individuals, young people taken into foster care?
No, that's new allegations of maltreatment or neglect so that would be 69 unique families that we go out and assess where somebody has expressed concern in the household.
So is that from the investigation started? Is that?
So those
numbers tied to-
69, yeah, the intakes would be our first process, and that intake could either shift towards the family support area or the investigations. So our family support cases are not an emergency response. There are concerns addressed in those reports. There's some maltreatment identified, but there's no immediate safety concern. So we have a little more time to meet with those families. Our response time for those cases is 5 days. And we meet with those families and determine what can we do to assist you so that those issues are mitigated and nothing additional happens.
And so oops, there, okay. That would be a number to look at. I'm looking at how the bars actually have gone down somewhat in there.
So the
Overall, like in those 3 areas, does that indicate, well, I mean, from pre-COVID, those were higher bars. And of course, actually, I'm thinking to what we were told last night from Project Safe, that sometimes there weren't as many opportunities for people to report situations, and that's why there was a dip in the reports.
Yeah, our data did shift through COVID, through that 2-year period. So, and then of course, the last bar is only showing you the first quarter of 2023.
Yeah.
So 2021 was a unique year where we're still evaluating how our data is going to trend now that life is maybe coming full circle back. I'm not sure if we're back to our new normal yet. Feels like we are. But our numbers are definitely trending upward again. Any other questions? And just want to thank our board members who do serve on the Athens-Clarke County Board. We are grateful for their service. And then in the back of your packet, should you need it, you have all of my contact information.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all for what you all do. Y'all do a great job. Couple of questions. What percentage of agency's total program participant are ACC government resident that lives here in the community? Do you have that?
For services
Yes.
through our office?
Yes.
We serve Athens-Clarke County residents.
Okay.
So I am also over Oconee
Oconee,
County,
right.
but
These numbers were just Clark County.
these numbers were just Clarke County.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. You say you all are open 3 days, and the 2 days that you all open, I guess people can go online to apply for services.
Yes.
So how fast then, going online, will a client get a response back from DFACS?
That may be a Deborah question, because that's more related to Gateway.
So what type of response are you referring to, sir?
Just somebody reaching back out to them, depending on what the situation
So our
is.
processes for our processing work is the same regardless of how you make the interaction with the agency. The online application just gives you that quick, self-sufficient way to do it without coming to the local office to pick up a paper document. But the time frame to process is the same across the board.
Okay.
If you make an application through the computer after 5 p.m., then of course it is
Next day.
received as the next business day. So for the SNAP program, which is your food assistance program, it is a maximum of 30 days to process the application. It doesn't matter how you initiated the application. It's 30 days from the date of application. Unless you're considered what we call express or expedited services, we try to get those for customers who have less than $150 in cash and or resources, or their expenses exceed their resources. We get those benefits to them within 7 days. In the Medicaid program, it is 45 days max. Unless you're pregnant, then you get your benefits within 10 days for medical coverage, because of course there's an urgency to try to get you the best care. And for the cash assistance program, which is the TANF program, it is a 45-day process as well. So it doesn't differentiate between how you make your application, because the guidelines are the same for all programs.
That's good to know, okay. And my last question is, you mentioned you got positions open. What type of positions do you have available? Just, I mean,
Dick's
Probably-
retired, he's looking for a day job.
nah,
Come on over. No, we have, in child welfare, we have case manager positions, which we call a social services specialist, and we are currently recruiting for investigators, family preservation case managers, and foster care case managers. We've also gotten approval to hire for an after-hours unit to kind of help with the flow of work and the volume we see. So we are recruiting for a supervisor of that unit, as well as 4 members to fill that unit as we grow it. I have supervisor positions that I am actively recruiting to fill. So wherever somebody wants to be in child welfare, I've got a place for them. And the same, OFI is also actively recruiting
We are.
for positions.
Yes, we're only recruiting for clerical support positions at this time.
okay. Well, I just want to get the
And
word
case
out.
management, excuse me, and case management.
Yes.
Okay.
And how do residents apply? Do they go on the DFACS website
For a job or
for a job?
Yes. So the state has a website, DHS Jobs, Georgia. You can search by county. You can look at information. If you talk to somebody and they're like, I can't figure out how to apply, you can have them email me. I'll reach out to them and talk to them about the jobs.
I'm gonna push it for y'all.
Thank
Yeah, me
you.
too.
That's what we need. We need individuals who live and want to work in the community. It's a stressful job, and when you can get home quickly, that's helpful. So,
Hey,
Thank you.
One more question here. You mentioned how good the collaboration was with the community, the neighborhood leaders. Do you have any data on how much there's been an increase in applications for the SNAP benefits or Medicaid or TANF funds that are related to that?
I don't with me. I can ask and see if our data team has a way to pull any of that. I'm not sure. I mean, I know we have metrics in a lot of different areas, but I don't know, since it is through a web-based system, if there's going to be a way to tell if one of the neighborhood leaders helped
Well,
assist with that.
don't they specifically have some extra funding that was for increasing SNAP benefits? I thought there were a couple of positions that had special funding in that area.
With Family Connection?
Yeah.
That
You
would
don't-
be a
okay.
Tim question.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for being here, both of you. Thinking about budgets and wages and benefits being a huge part of that, and that also being a big part of how we try to recruit and retain folks. Is your pay scale something that you all get to set with your board, or is that set by the state entirely?
The salary is, or the pay is set by the state.
Okay.
What this money assists us with is some retention supplements. And I will share that, we've seen what a lot of the economic climate has seen with jobs and everything else. So we've worked with the board and started to do some feedback sessions with staff to see if we can restructure that to help retain people more. But the salary is set by the state.
Okay. But so you do have some discretion to offer some kind of bonuses or other incentives beyond what the state sets as the salary?
Through this budget, yes.
Okay.
as a retention supplement. Now, it goes through a bunch of approvals and gets board support and scrutinized, but yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Y'all, thank you so much. Appreciate the work you do every day.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Keep us tied together.
Do I just unplug this?
You can unplug? Yeah.
I'm glad you asked her because I didn't say. All right.
Thank you.
Well, have a good evening. Thank you.
They got all their, they were just too busy.
All right, coming up next, we have Lauren Wade, Chris Friedlander from Athens in Motion. Good to see you. Thanks for coming down.
All right, yeah, well, hopefully this will be. Yeah, actually, I think I might just be able to do. Yeah, that's new with this work laptop. Let's see. It's beautiful.
Need to do it.
Hello.
This is the vision of our city in the future.
Oh, Lord.
It's just my desktop.
It's quite a climb. I mean, we're already a little hill.
Yeah. It's not. I want you to mirror. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, usually it's really bad. Did I have it? Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. I feel like it got complicated with. This one is very diverse. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay. Let's pull it up.
They 9 to 5.
Oh, yeah, it still looks weird on here. Oh, well. Ooh, well, that's just how it is. Yeah, I mean, it's not the end of the world. They can, I guess they can read it. Where? Good man. All right. Yeah. Oops, I lost it. Come back.
Oh, come back.
All right, technology.
Yeah.
Oh, it's coming.
No. Oh, sorry. Okay, let me get over to this screen. Okay, I think if we click, we'll be fine.
Where do you click?
Just here.
Okay.
All right, thank you for your patience, everyone. So excited to be here tonight for our budget request for fiscal year 2024. We are the Athens in Motion Commission, and Teresa and I are going to tag team this. So we will go briefly through what the Athens in Motion Commission is, our budget requests, and leave time for questions. So we just have about 20 slides here. I do want to be clear that this is, we're one of your board's authorities and commissions, so this is not the same thing as like the Transportation Public Works staff request, or even, there's no capital infrastructure in this. This is just a little bit of seed money to help us do our job on the commission. We have 9 members. We serve at your pleasure. We serve about 5-year terms. Teresa was recently reappointed. So these are all the folks. You might know some of them. And we're one of your newest boards, authorities, and commissions. We were established really just before the pandemic, so we're still getting the ball rolling, getting the wheels turning in some respects. But we are responsible, and this is from our resolution and bylaws, but we're responsible for the development, implementation, and modification of an Athens in Motion plan for a safe and connected network of bicycle and pedestrian facilities throughout Athens-Clarke County. And this is the proposed network as of when the plan was developed in 2018. We have some revisions coming up, and we'll talk more about that shortly. We have several goals in the plan. Connectivity, equity, more users, education, implementation are the broad goals. And there are some criteria under each of these, which I won't go into, but we can talk about that if you all want. We're happy to have an email discussion or have a meeting with you all, but this is in our plan. So the big ideas, and I just kind of like went off the cuff here a little bit, but the plan aims to give everyone a safe, affordable, accessible transportation options through a complete network of bike ped infrastructure. I do also want to underscore some of the great things about the plan, in that its guidance for prioritization assures outside entities that we have done our homework in collecting data and gathering public input when we are requesting those big federal dollars, like the $25 million that we got from the RAISE grant for North Avenue. But we also use the plan internally as a guide whenever other infrastructure comes up for construction, such as if there's a stormwater project, or more often when there's a road repaving. If there's an opportunity to make the street more complete, we will go ahead and look at the plan and see what the recommendations are. So this way, we're not continually adding to our massive backlog of roads that need retrofitting, because it is expensive, and we do have quite a bit on our list. And this also comes from our resolution and bylaws. So the main ones I'm going to emphasize here are actually points 2 and 3, conducting educational safety and encouragement programs in support of active transportation and coordinating active transportation efforts. And that's where our budget request comes from, is meeting those goals. So we're not trying to build sidewalks with these dollars. We're not trying to add thermopaint or put in some more PED signals, because this is a very tiny amount of money that you'll hear Teresa ask. It's really just $12,000 for the whole year, which is 1% of what it costs to build 1 mile of sidewalk. So a very small amount. That's for the whole year. And so I will turn it over to Teresa for our budget request. And Teresa, I'm just hitting the arrow here.
Thank you, Laura. Good evening, everyone. Hopefully I'm not going to break Lauren's computer when I hit this button. All right. So this is basically what we got from the county when we were asked to present our budget request, and that's just showing FY22, our actual expenditure was $8,873. We're in FY23 right now, and we have a few items that we are looking to spend some money on that will help us in our mission. We need some help with getting communications out primarily. I mean, that seems to be the big thing that we need support for, whether it's ads or social media ads, or, having an event where we have to purchase some things, or having things to give out to the public. What we did last year with that money is we had a communication strategy developed for us. We used the county's consultants, so they knew how we worked and what we wanted, and that was really helpful to us as we move forward. So we're working on a new logo, as you can see. So some of the things we're going to be producing with our FY23 money will include that logo, and that is kind of a nice reflection of the new Complete Streets policy that we've adopted here in Athens-Clarke. We have purchased materials and supplies for public outreach, including a tent and some tables and tablecloths and, chairs and things that we need, so that when we, are outside in the weather greeting people, we can actually have a nice, comfortable, fun experience. And then we've provided front and rear bike light kits to our partner agencies to distribute free of charge, and those things are really cool. Okay, so we've done some outreach in the past. Recently, we went to REI for their grand opening, and that was really fun, and we met lots of people, and we are starting a listserv, and we got 46 people to voluntarily write down their names and email addresses for us. Didn't have to bribe them or anything. We had some tabling during the Prince Avenue pilot for the Porch Fest, for the UGA Bike Pedestrian and Safety Day. We were there and we spoke to, I don't know, 200 students maybe? It was more than that. I mean, I was exhausted at the end of the day. Lauren and I were both involved in the T-SPLOST committee and the program to inform voters about that. We had a tabling event at Marigold Festival. We've been at the Green Life Expo at least twice now. And really, anytime we can think of our presence being useful, we'll set up our table and go out there and talk to people about Athens in Motion. Because we want to support our goals. We want to meet them: connectivity, equity, more users, education, implementation. And that's our aim plan focus. So our communication strategy address each of those goals. And we are largely looking at promotion. And that is, sometimes you do it through paper, sometimes you do it through radio, sometimes you do it through a billboard. There are just lots of different ways to get people to know what we're doing. And there are some groups in our community that are just harder to reach than others. And so that's something that we're really going to be working on, is just trying to figure out how to get into communities that don't normally, think about biking and walking places. So now for 2023, as Lauren said, we're doing an upgrade, 5-year revision of the AIM plan, and we will need to hire some consultants to help with the data gathering and analysis and the reprioritizing the list of tier 1, 2, and 3 projects. And that's going to be based on work that's in progress, new funding sources like some of those grants, and public input. And this is really where we want to excel, is in public input. And one thing that we will be doing for FY24 is hosting an Open Streets event, which will involve an investment up front, because there will be some materials that we will have to reuse in future events. We will also need to pay for some police support, because it will involve sort of temporary partial street closures during the event, which is a daytime, 3-hour event. And then we want to have some items that we can give away, safety items like maybe a reflective vest or, a headlamp, or things that will help people when they're going out and about, not in a car, to stay safe and feel safe. So, like, for example, we could put up some nice signs like, what do you think of our slow streets? Or we could put up a billboard about public input and, maybe have a sign with a QR code, anything that we can use to get people to, let us know what they want, what they need, what they think. And so when we get into that next year, we will be, having our whole committee look at the existing AIM plan. We want to have the community know more about it. We want them to share their ideas and concerns. And we want to identify areas where the T-SPLOST money can be used to serve the most people, especially those who do not drive. So some future activities that will be needing some funding to help us get off the ground, like we said, Open Streets. We could do an educational seminar about safe, active transportation skills in some of our public schools. We could do community workshops and walking audits throughout the neighborhoods. That would, require putting some signs out and letting people know. We could conduct a wayfinding audit, because one thing we don't really have is good signage to tell you kind of how to get from one place to the other safely. I mean, you sort of have to figure it out as you go along right now. We would like to work on the culture of driving in Athens-Clarke. It's kind of a dangerous place right now, and I think that there's a lot of work we can do with that. We can create self-guided tours to promote active tourism. We can work with someone like an organization like Historic Athens. We can work with Bike Athens. There are just lots of fun things that we can do. And we can also do just some safety training and education for our first-year students at the university, because we want them all to leave the campus in as good a shape as they came in. So anyway, so that's what we're asking for our little $12,000 budget for. And if you have any questions, here we are.
Thanks, Teresa. Thanks, Lauren. Questions for the pair?
Yes, I like the work that y'all doing. Can you elaborate on the host support first year UJ students? Because I think when we have transients coming into town to educate them on alternative transportation, other modes of transportation throughout Athens. Can you elaborate on your collaboration with UGA?
Yeah, so UGA, they have they have a new, I feel like it's kind of new, but maybe they're just rebranding a new,
I think they're just sort of, kind of beefing it up and actually.
yeah, a bike ped walking safety office, and they had a bike ped safety day, and so we attended that. But we have also, they're applying for some grants, and we wrote a support letter for them to encourage that. So we're trying to be a partner there in that way. Those are the most direct ways that we've helped at this point.
It's interesting, because we've got Downtown Development Authority lined up next, and an event they do in conjunction with the university every year is this North of the Arch event for new students. And I know there's been some discussion about having sort of more tabling at that event. That may be a coming opportunity.
We also, on our commission, we have a UGA appointee. He's someone the university wants to serve on the Athens in Motion Commission, and that's been really helpful to us over the time we've been doing this.
Two questions. One, piggybacking on the university, we had this meeting with the Student Government Association a couple days ago, and this thing that they were emphasizing a lot was lighting, especially on pedestrian paths on and around campus and downtown. Do you all play any role in evaluating lighting on existing amenities? Is that something that's come up?
The one place that lighting has come up is actually through our trail system, which provides a critical transportation corridor, the Greenway, the Firefly Trail. So we have brought up the issue of lighting, and we're hoping that those conversations can lead to lighting along those trails. So along the Greenway, there's of course, there's the new, it's not really new anymore, there's the new parking lot, the UGA parking lot, and then certainly the Firefly Trail is definitely going to be an important transportation corridor. It already leads to Hallmark Mobile Home Community, and that's a great way to get into town. And eventually we'll go all the way to Winterville. So we are starting those conversations, and we hope it will go somewhere.
Maybe in some of that campus outreach, connecting with those SGA folks, they had some real thoughts on where it was needed and places that kind of surprised, I think, some of us in the room. The other question I have is, I saw you talking about collaborating with various other orgs, including the Greenway Commission and such. You mentioned transit. Our transit department is planning this big expansion. So when we think of connectivity, my understanding previously was that AIM is really identifying priorities around building connectivity of the whole bike network. But I'm wondering if, as we're planning, and sidewalk network, sorry, yes. As we're planning this transit expansion, are you all talking about places, some of those more further out places where if transit is going to expand there, it would make sense to have what might look like an isolated amenity, but would actually connect like a residential node to a transit station?
Yeah, that can certainly factor into our plan update, because one of the reasons why the plan and the network is outlined where it is a route's proximity to bus stops and number of bus stops.
Okay.
So that, that definitely factors in. It's a very important equity component.
And so during this update, are y'all in conversation with transit about planned additional bus stops? Is that, or are we kind of too early for that? I'm just thinking, like, if this is going to be a 5-year plan, and in 5 years we're expecting to have this expanded network, is that?
Yeah, as far as transportation in Athens-Clarke County goes, like, I think in the past it's been a bit siloed, where it's like transit, they're responsible for bus stops, and that's it. And then we have these disconnected bus stops, and that frustrates people. But I think that we will collaborate more and think holistically going forward about our transportation infrastructure to, because definitely on the Athens in Motion Commission, we're being very cognizant about not creating new gaps in our network and filling them in. So.
Okay.
we will have those conversations,
A couple
Commissioner.
of our T-Splosh projects were specifically addressing the dirt paths or desire paths that show up where people go to catch their bus. You know, we want to put sidewalk in those areas. And so we were able to get some funding for that through T-Splosh. So-
Yeah, a question. And of course, filling in on that, those connectors, that's a lot what's going to be down along Lexington Highway. There's a lot of connector sidewalks being put in through the Athens in Motion plan and the T-Splosh funding to connect along that way. So that's really exciting. You know, I think it's important to point out that you also have a bike ped coordinator who should be, or does, I know, because he's definitely passionate working with transit and such, as we're moving forward with this Athens in Motion update. But you all have that nice, all the education things. I just wanted to get back to that. So community members or commissioners, if they have people in their community who are having an event, would you welcome us reaching out to you? And I know you guys do like collaboration with Bike Athens. They just got this they're getting this new money from REI for a van to fix bikes up and teach bike skills. And it would be really cool if you could collaborate with them in some sort of visits to different neighborhoods and so forth, and that to get kids involved and such. I love that idea.
Yes, we would love to do that. And at this point, our tabling, we haven't had really anything to give away at this point. So,
But we're working on it.
yeah, so this budget will help with things like that, so that, you know, the kids will come up and talk to us.
Well, Laura and Teresa, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it.
Disconnecting.
All right, next on tap is representation from the Athens Downtown Development Authority. Oh, look at you. Good to see you, sir.
I'm gonna keep it simple. We don't have any visual aids or handouts, so no worries there. Everybody should have a copy of the budget submittal we sent a couple months ago, I guess, and that's basically what I'll be going over quickly. My name's Jeremy Smith. I'm the parking director for Downtown Athens Parking System, and I'm here for downtown parking and the Athens Downtown Development Authority. First off, I would like to say that we are not actually requesting any budget money. We're actually asking to reinvest some more of the revenue that we earn through parking, so just to make sure that's clear. The main couple things that we're looking at, Central Services and Facilities Maintenance has asked us to take over some of the things that they were doing for us. One of the main things is replacing light bulbs in the parking decks. We would buy the bulbs and then their staff would install them. They'd asked us to take over the installation, so we budgeted an extra $15,000 to cover those costs to hire a contractor to do that. The next thing is our POA dues for the Washington deck. And a lot of that comes down to just the cost of everything's going up. Costs more to maintain the elevator, fire suppression costs more, so we budgeted an extra $20,000 to cover those increase in costs of maintenance. The next thing is deck security. We spend quite a bit on deck security, making sure that everyone's safe going to and from their cars late at night, stuff like that. They have actually increased their rate from $21 an hour to $24 an hour. We've been very happy with their service, and so we feel like it's worth the additional increase of $41,000. They're also looking at adding artificial intelligence technology to our cameras, which basically it's monitored by the technology. If something happens in front of the camera, it'll pop up in front of an actual person. They can make the determination if they need to call the security guard, call the parking deck, whomever. Call the police department, whatever they need to do depending on what the scenario is. So that's also part of the $41,000 if we're able to do that. Fourth, we've added a couple $1,000s for cleaning services, and basically we just had a rodent issue in the College Avenue deck. Our deck manager has an office that's actually on the first floor of the deck level, and so it's open to a lot of outside intrusions, so we thought it was worth spending the money to take care of that. And then again, going back to the light bulbs, they've actually gone from about $300-something a bulb to $480-something odd per bulb. So we added a couple $1,000s to increase for the increase in the cost of bulbs, so. And with that, I'll open it up to questions. If anybody has anything, feel free. Yes, sir.
On page, for us, on page 53 and 126, parking system expenses, 1.6, that includes the light bulbs, the maintenance, and,
I actually don't have the figure that you're looking at in front of me, but if it's under the maintenance section, yeah, it would include all that. The 1.6 in our, as far as our expenditures,
yes.
yes, that's all that covers. That covers our salaries, our wages, maintenance, materials as far as ticket paper, envelopes, anything that is in our budget, that's covered under that.
Seems a little high, but.
It costs a lot to keep those meters running. I mean, just, we pay a fee for each meter per month. We pay a credit card fee on each meter per month. They fee you to death. And then you got, people running over meters these days left and right. And so it adds up. There's a lot of maintenance costs. We just had a couple meters right down the street over here on Broad. Had 3 poles taken out yesterday. So it's an expensive business to run, but it does generate quite a bit of revenue, so it covers its own costs.
Jesse?
A couple things. If people are running over meters left and right, should we try to move toward kiosk instead of meters?
Well, that's just a more expensive meter to hit. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
and honestly, when you're spending that much money on a machine to take quarters, because kiosks are very expensive. We've had kiosks in the past, they did not go over well. I would lean heavily against avoiding that.
Okay. And then the other request, this might be more for the manager's office or finance, but all the other independent agencies, we get this little chart that just kind of shows you FY 21, 22, 23. And we have the narrative in our document, but I don't think we have a chart like that anywhere that kind of compares to past years. Could we get that? That's not to knock, I mean, I understand that kind of the nature of what y'all are asking to take money from, but still just to sort of understand. And maybe also to put the revenue alongside the expense, because I guess that was my other question for you is, remember last year and the other 2 years that I've been here, the conversation has been all about how COVID just wreaked havoc on not generating revenue. Is revenue bounced back now?
We are coming out of that. It is definitely starting to climb back to previous levels. We've also been replacing meters. They sunsetted the 2G and 3G systems, which a lot of our meters were, about 600 of them. So they've all been upgraded to 4G. While we were doing that, we had to take some of the meters off the street down on Doherty Street, so that cut into our revenue. Clayton Street construction cut into the revenue. We lost the 16 meters on College Avenue. But I will say that you can definitely see an upwards trend in the revenue. It seems to be that it's coming back, especially since Clayton is finished. That definitely affected the income.
So that upwards trend, even though some spaces have moved around, maybe we're seeing more people in the decks instead of on the street.
You're definitely seeing an increase in parking numbers.
I'm sorry I'm running late and I can't get to my printout right now. But that's what I really wanted to talk about. I think Commissioner Davenport talked about how expensive things are or question. But you did take a hit when we did the parklets, and we lost all of that space. So the things that you're asking us now for may not be an ask if we not had made some changes, which I don't have no objections to. But I think that everything is going up high. And y'all did downtown took a big hit during COVID. And I do appreciate that you still stayed afloat, even though
I appreciate that.
You were going through some things.
Yes, ma'am.
And you do so much more than just meters.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions?
All right,
All right. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good evening.
Thanks. Blaine.
All right, we've got one more presentation, and then we'll have a little break. Next on tap is representation from the Athens Council on Aging.
They're going to hear your mics over there.
See you.
Good to see you too.
to see you.
I see that this is included.
Yes, that would be
It's just that the
Thank
other
you,
ones
sir.
give us the multiple years. And then it also
think
shows
that
the
they're-
next year.
I think so.
I'm just curious, thinking about how
That's from them. This is
Yeah.
from us.
Yeah,
So this isn't consistent with the other ones.
yeah, we have, the only one that we don't have this for, that's Project Safe, the only one we don't have it for is ADP. That's all I was asking for.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. You're welcome. All right, Erin Beasley's here from the Athens Community Council on Aging. She's going to introduce her team. So Erin, take it away.
Great, thank you. And I wanted to send apologies on Eva Anthony's behalf. She wishes she could be here, but she was under the weather today. But I am Erin Beasley. I'm the Vice President and Director of Operations at the Athens Community Council on Aging. Joining me tonight is Seth Robeson, our CPA, and Jonathan Wentworth, our Board Treasurer. For fiscal year 2024, Athens Community Council on Aging is requesting $312,300 in support. This request includes $267,300 for personnel expenses and $45,000 in capital expenses to support the purchase of a new multi-passenger vehicle for our senior transportation program. And this is the same amount that we received last year. In 1965, the Federal Older Americans Act established mandated state and local aging programs throughout the United States. And since our inception in 1967, ACCA has provided these federally mandated services to county residents. And beginning in 1990, we've done that in successful partnership with the ACC government. Locally, these programs include the multi-purpose Athens-Clarke County Senior Center, which is rebranded the Center for Active Living, nutrition programs including Meals on Wheels and daily lunch offered at the Senior Center, health, nutrition, recreation, continuing education opportunities, community education and outreach, and door-through-door transportation. 95% of the people that participate in these programs at ACCA are Athens-Clarke County residents. ACCA uses the county dollars to fund operating expenses in the Center for Active Living, Meals on Wheels, and our adult day health and transportation programs. And the capital funds provided by the county support the purchase of a new minibus to replace a similar vehicle in our fleet. You may have seen our branded ACCA buses tooling around the county. What you're seeing there is actually more than just transportation, it's access. And that's access to critical medical appointments, to pharmacies, grocery stores, other basic needs, and access to the community. These local dollars also serve as required matching funds for our grandparents raising grandchildren, retired senior volunteer, older worker, and foster grandparent programs. And every dollar of county support that we receive allows us to draw down $9 in state and federal funds. In Athens-Clarke County, ACCA is the only nonprofit agency focused on the needs of older adults, and we provide non-duplicated services to this population. We believe that everyone should have the opportunity to age well, and we support this by providing programs and services that address basic needs such as food and transportation, and provide opportunities for personal fulfillment gained through building relationships, expanding knowledge, and making meaningful contributions to the community. Meals on Wheels, our daily on-site lunch program, transportation, and the Adult Day Health Center serve many of our community's frailest and most vulnerable older adults. And these programs have a direct impact on persistent poverty and the related issues of food insecurity, under and unemployment, and limited access to health care and transportation. We also offer programming for active older adults to support overall health, aging in place, and retirement in Athens. This includes affordable health and wellness programs, opportunities for volunteerism, and recreational programming. For 56 years, ACCA has positively impacted the health and well-being of local seniors and made our community an even better place to live. Now, I could spend so much more time talking about ACCA and all of our 14 programs and services, but the thing that I would like to share with you about what's happening at ACCA right now is In FY '22, our Athens Meals on Wheels program, which is supported by 130 community volunteers, served 304 people 72,950 meals. And we are so grateful to have been able to do that. But right now, in Athens, there are 76 people on our Meals on Wheels waiting list. And these are adults who are at risk for hunger, who have asked for and are eligible to receive Meals on Wheels services that we don't have the capacity to serve with our current funding. Now, in our Older Workers program, we had 66 people aged 55 and up who completed 35,373 hours of on-the-job training. After completing the program, 8 of these participants parlayed that training into unsubsidized employment. These older workers are filling workforce needs, and they're doing so in hard-to-fill frontline positions like home health aides. Last year, our Adult Day Health program served 67 members and their families. This service provides a safe and supportive environment for our members while also giving caregivers much-needed respite. And for many of the families that we serve, this program gives caregivers the time and peace of mind that they need to continue working. As the number of working adults providing full-time care for older loved ones increases, the need for Adult Day Health and related resources will continue to grow. As with most businesses, we've seen the cost to provide our services increase across the board, requiring that we find new and creative ways to do more with less. To recruit and retain the best employees, we've increased wages and salaries to remain competitive, resulting in a 40% increase of our payroll over the last few years. Both the demand for and the cost to provide our services continue to rise, but the state reimbursement rate for those services has stayed the same. And this fiscal year, several of our state aging service contracts have been delayed, in turn, delaying our reimbursement for the vital services that we continue to provide. And this has created an exceptional financial challenge for us. In addition to financial challenges, we're also limited by our physical space as we're running out of room in our current downtown location. ACCA's Senior Center was designed and built over 30 years ago, making it the oldest center in our 12-county region. The need for our services continues to increase, and today's seniors are asking for more holistic wellness services that require reimagined and adaptable space. As we look at current and future needs of this population, one of our largest challenges is finding space that's appropriate for those services. ACCA continually assesses the needs of the population we serve. Affordable, safe housing, access to food, dementia resources, and social isolation are 4 areas that have been identified as the greatest needs among those we serve. Our strategic initiatives address these challenges. Over the past year, we've received many calls from seniors who were concerned about their ability to find or continue to afford safe and affordable housing. While we know this has been a long-standing concern for many area seniors, recent rising prices, scarcity of accessible and safe housing, and changes in the local rental market have really exacerbated this situation. Among the older adults we serve, our neighbors, your constituents, housing has quickly become the top unmet need. As we work to find resources to assist these seniors in need, we found that in some cases the resource either didn't exist or they were challenging for these older folks to access or navigate on their own. And given this need and our history of strong partnerships and innovative program development, we sought new ways to address this problem. In December, we were awarded ARPA Affordable Housing Phase 1 funding to assist older residents in modifying and repairing their homes and to establish a housing counseling program to help low-income older adults secure or maintain safe housing. Thank you all. Thank you so much for awarding us those funds, and we are very excited about the opportunity to meet the needs of older adults in Athens with those services. We are also going to be partnering with the Northeast Georgia Food Bank to transition management of the existing Senior Brown Bag Program to ACCA. This program provides monthly commodity bags to over 200 older adults at risk for food insecurity. This new partnership, in combination with our existing nutrition services, will effectively create a 3rd tier within our Meals on Wheels program. We can't clear our Meals on Wheels waiting list without additional funding, so we're continually seeking those new ways to provide the services that are needed. By combining our resources with the food bank, we will be able to serve more people at the right time and with the right resources to meet their needs while allowing both ACCA and the food bank to do more with less. In response to community demand for additional resources related to dementia care and education, ACCA has launched a Dementia Resource Center in partnership with the UGA Institute of Gerontology Care Clinic and other community partners. ACCA Center will be a one-stop shop for people living with dementia and their care partners to receive education, support, respite, opportunities to network and socialize with one another. And combined with our Adult Day Health Center, this dementia resource will be a needed addition to our community as we continue to see the number of people diagnosed with dementia increase each year. We are really excited to offer this unique combination of resources, which are only available in a handful of other communities throughout the country. ACCA continues to serve the Athens community as a hub of social connection and well-being, adapting to meet the needs of older adults and their families. As you all know, Athens is regularly voted one of the top retirement destinations in the country, and we're proud to serve as a key resource to the retirees who choose to make our community their home. We will soon be in the begin planning and strategy for new improved space to match the demand and needs of today's older Athenians. And next month, we'll join Meals on Wheels programs across the country for the annual March for Meals campaign. We'll be inviting each of you to be a March for Meals champion, to join one of our wonderful volunteers as they deliver meals on a route in one of your districts. And thank you to Mayor Gertz for being a participant in that program for several years. Thank you all for your time this evening and for helping all Athenians age and live well. I'm available to answer questions, as is Seth, our CPA. Yes.
Yes, if I could give you $10 million, I would. They do a lot of great work in the community. Thank all of y'all for that. Do have a question about capacity needs, something you spoke about, that 60, maybe 60, if I got that number wrong, are not served. How can we get you to that, to meet those needs?
Sure. So right now, we have 76 people on our Meals on Wheels waiting list. Was that the number you were talking about?
Yes.
Okay. So really, it's funding, but also with our 3-tiered Meals on Wheels program, we've got our traditional Meals on Wheels folks who receive meals 5 days a week. The cost to provide that service for one person for a year is between $2,500 and $3,000. So it's a pretty hefty investment. But by partnering with Campus Kitchen at UGA, partnering with the Office of Service Learning at UGA, and now partnering with the food bank, we're able to provide monthly commodity bag distribution through our Takeout Tuesday program. That happens at the end of each month when folks' benefits are usually starting to run out. And so they'll get a bag of commodities from the food bank, so canned, shelf-stable, things like that, along with produce from U-Garden and whatever the food bank can send our way. And that service is typically provided for the folks on our Meals on Wheels waiting list.
And you need more space.
Yes.
Are y'all looking, did y'all apply, put in an application during our SPLOS process in 2020?
I don't believe we did because
Okay.
I don't believe we had the capacity at that time
Okay.
when we were feeding everybody.
And my last is, your transportation, just move past it. How do people qualify for, in my district, we're seeing a lot of retirees, a lot of disabled individuals, and they're needing transportation to, the doctors or to the parks and stuff. How does that process work?
So we do provide demand response transportation. There are some age requirements. I don't want to speak too far on that because I believe that it is 60 and up, but it may be 55 and up. We do have some funding to be able to support people who aren't able to pay the cost. A round trip with our transportation at a private pay rate is $20.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And I do contribute every month from my check.
I know. Thank you.
Others?
Yes, for the transportation, do they have to be a member or just elderly?
When they enroll with us, they become a member of ACCA, but they don't have to be a member of the senior center.
Okay.
So that's available to anybody who needs it.
Question over here. Is there any, like I see the bulk of your funding comes from the federal government. Is there any possibility, is there any brightness in the future about, funding, more federal funding for the aging, the older people, that group I am closer to and part of every day? But are there more funding opportunities? Because clearly you have all the baby boomers moving into that age. I'm really thrilled to hear about the dementia kind of support center and network of information. Any bright spots in the future with federal funding?
As far as our traditional federal funding, so we receive, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm congested. We receive federal funding that funnels through the state, through our local AAA. And then we do have our AmeriCorps seniors programs and our grandparents raising grandchildren program that receive direct federal funding. And then, anybody else? And those are generally set amounts where it's challenging to try to request more. We can always request more, and we have done that in our grandparents program, but have not received it.
I did also want to add that I noticed you put the home repairs and modification in here, and as a person who's very interested in energy efficiency and some of the programs from the Inflation Reduction Act, I want to make sure that all the elderly, everyone in Athens knows about all the money that's there for home repairs and insulation and such. And if you are lower income or like 80% income, I mean, some of the things are almost like 100% paid for. So I think that's really important to get into your, into that home repair place.
Yes,
So-
absolutely. And that's going to generate further savings for them down the road, too, for their utilities.
Yeah, I was like, couldn't believe how high my gas bill was. I was like, what is that money? And I'm like, oh, that was winter. I think there's a lot of opportunities there in that area for people to save.
Absolutely.
A few queries. One, Athens Eats Together was obviously meeting the needs of a lot of folks who are not part of your typical target demographic.
Right.
Has the data, that like massive amount of data that was collected and or the work to help those folks meet their food needs, has that found a home since, or is that still just kind of becoming increasingly outdated without anyone taking it up?
That is where I am sad that Eve Anthony is not here, because she would absolutely be able to answer that question.
Okay.
I know the older folks that we connected with through that program, we've been able to find ways to continue serving them.
Okay.
We brought them on to Meals on Wheels and served them with those other tiers of service. As far as the families and the folks who wouldn't normally be eligible for our services, I'm happy to find that out, and I'll let you know.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah. And yeah, just think, I guess for colleagues, like, we had Envision here yesterday, they say Athens Wellbeing Project, and like, there's this massive amount of data that's sitting there that clearly identifies people who have some food insecurity needs in these different agencies that are, I think, hopefully I'd love to see us find a way to maybe partner with the infrastructure y'all have to pick that back up if there's a need, or to know that that's somehow been picked up elsewhere. And then my other question is around staffing. Just, I know that y'all are immensely volunteer supported, but how many employees do y'all have?
We have 57 employees.
57 employees? And it's a mix of part-time and full-time, or?
Primarily full-time, but we do have some part-time staff also,
Okay.
yes.
And do you happen to know the wage floor, like the
I
lowest
believe
paid people?
We're actually just talking about that, and that's part of that increase, is that we are working and have been working over the past few years to try to bring our folks up to a living wage. And I believe our starting rate right now is $12 an hour. So we're working on it. We're not quite there yet, though. Our goal is to get to $15 an hour as a base wage.
Well, I'd also be interested in hearing what it would take for your organization to get there, and if and how we could play a role, just so we could understand that, if we're helping organizations stay afloat that we rely upon. Every year that goes by that you don't get 15 means that whenever you do get to 15, it might be not what it is now. It's already not what it was a few years ago. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
How How can residents come in? I forget about this. How can residents sign up to volunteer at the end of the month for your food
For
distribution?
Takeout Tuesday, we have a new volunteer coordinator. His name is Ezra Schley, and the last name is Schley. And you can call our office at 706-549-4850 and ask for Ezra, and he will be happy to get you connected with that, and I will probably follow up with you tomorrow to get you connected with Ezra.
Okay.
Thank you for asking.
Aaron, regarding your space needs, obviously, you know, that's been sort of a coming phenomenon. I anticipate it's the case that you've probably spoken with Rick Parker at the Housing Authority regarding the redevelopment that's happening in North Downtown. Obviously, you see the dust every day on your way to work, as do I.
A little bit of blasting.
But I encourage you to continue those conversations because I think there may be some opportunity there in the coming commercial space that'll be your neighbor.
That would be wonderful.
Yep.
Thank you. We will keep those conversations going.
All right. Thank you a ton, everybody. Thanks for the work you do.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for your time.
All right, and commissioners, we will take a break until 7 o'clock. And we have some snacks, and any guests, by all means, grab some as well. Go out, take a left in the hall, and on your left, you got some snacks set up. Like 2 people, have people All right, everyone, we are picking back up. It's good to be here with you. We have 4 more agencies we're going to hear from this evening. And up right now are John Jeffries and Laura Rittenberry from Athens Tutorial.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. It is our pleasure to be able to come before you all and talk a little bit about what Athens Tutorial Program is all about. However, we need to be very clear that as we come to you, we also understand clearly what it is that we have asked funding for. Of course, our funding is for operations, but what I thought would be useful is for us to give you some idea about what we are above operation. Now, of course, you understand that the operation aspect of our budget deals with a number of things that are designed to undergird our programming. That simply means that, we're talking about utilities, we're talking about janitorial services, we're talking about computer services, we're talking about all of those things that serve as a sort of a support for the programming that we do. But what I would like to do, in addition to letting you know that we understand what the funding is for, we thought maybe it might be of some value for you to get some general idea about who we are otherwise, over and beyond our operation. And I'm sure some of you already know who we are. But the handout that we've just given to you is a handout that was done by our past president, Aaron Hurd. Many of you know Aaron, and we'll talk just briefly about what that handout deals with shortly. Now, we have provided that handout for purposes of giving you some idea about who we are. Aaron Hurd put together a history, and that history, which is in your handout, gives you some idea about how long we've been in existence, but more importantly, what we've done while we've been here. The accomplishments are there. We've talked and dealt with students for many years and have been successful in tutoring and causing some students to improve in their academic standing. I am so pleased to say to you that if we take a moment and go through the commissioners who are sitting at this table, I am so proud to say to you that my commissioner, Mr. Davenport, is one of the people who many years ago was one who said, I thought that y'all could help. And I'm putting words in his mouth. But we had the opportunity to give him a chance to see what it was we did, how we did it, and the impact, I hope he will say at some point in time, it had on him and his education. We also will find in that handout who the students are. One of the things that's so inviting to us is that we have to find a way to help others. This helping others require us to look beyond ourselves and look toward those who have greater needs. There are a number of young students in this town who have great needs academically. And for our purposes, they are in East Athens. They are in East Athens, Census Tract 301, 302. And what we've found is that the academic situation among those youngsters is it's critical because they have not gotten the proper support at home and at school to be successful. The tutorial program is designed and has been doing that for over 40 years. And I said over 40 years. Why do I say over 40 years? I don't know of a single other tutorial program in Athens, Georgia that has existed over 40 years. Now let me just say to you as commissioners, it has been tough. It has been tough. And we have managed to find, to look, identify, and to pull together a number of people who have said we are part of a group that want to make a difference with you. And in doing so, we have worked with a number of partners in various areas in this community to look at who we are and to help us do the job that we want to do, which is to provide academic training for students. The academic situation in Clarke County, according to the Clarke County School District, is extraordinary. It's extraordinary because of the scores that youngsters are challenged by and scores that they have been unable to attain. So it gives us even a greater opportunity to say to the community, let us help. And more importantly, help us help. Help us help those who are in greatest need. And that's why we have continued to work. And by the way, we've gotten funds from this county. Not these funds, but other funds from the Community Development Department. And we have used those funds to programmatically cause a change in the lives of youngsters in our community. In addition to funding, what we talked about is who is willing to help us, who is willing to collaborate, who is willing to partner. What we are doing now is we are pulling together a number of willing partners who said to us, we will help you. Let's talk about how we go about it. The Athens Tutorial Program currently are in discussion with several agencies in town to try to find a way to get them to help us help those youngsters. And some of them have said, we're going to try to make it happen. Now, what I want to say to you as elected officials and to managers is that we would like to have you all to be a part of that effort as well. And I know we're getting money right now, but with the situation as it is, and with the extraordinary situation that we're living with in the Clarke County School District, every additional little bit will be very, very helpful. Is the need here? Answer is yes. Is the desire here? We think it is here. What we need to do is to find a way to get those who are with us, listen to us, talk with us, and help us come together and deal with the issue of improving the academic standard of people in need in this community. We only work with elementary children, and that's where we think the greatest effort should be with elementary schools. Currently, we have tutoring. And Mrs. Rittenberry, I didn't mention Mrs. Rittenberry. Mrs. Rittenberry is the only staff person, and I don't want to preach tonight. Mrs. Rittenberry is the only staff person we've got left to do the work, the day-to-day operations. Now, why am I saying that? Well, as you all know, policy-making boards, such as you, don't get involved in what the manager does, unless you become what is commonly referred to as a working board. Guess what the Athens Tutorial Board has become out of necessity? We are a working board. Why? We don't have money to pay staff. We don't have the money to pay for secretary. We don't have the money to pay for a director. We don't have the money to pay for a grant person. Why? Because we have found that monies just have dried up in a number of areas. But we hear that there are opportunities out there, and we are eager to find ways to get to some of those monies so that we can staff up and get our board members to do what policymakers generally do in organizations like ours. And that is to stay out of the day-to-day operation, hire people to do it. If we're going to run this train, we need to have engineers. And that's what we would need funding for in the future. I apologize for talking about programs to you when we know that I'm here for operations. Thank you all for the operation money. Thank you for the operational money for a couple of years. And thank you for the operational money that we anticipate getting in the future. Because without that, that would be another expense that we would have to pay out of some of the monies that we raise. And we do have fundraisers, which means that we raise money. But you want to know how hard money is to raise in these times? Very difficult. We have done reasonably well, but what you all have done for us is helped us with the operational side so that we don't have to expend our monies that we raise on operations. What I hope that you will do in the future is to continue to fund us in the operational area and think a little bit about possibilities in the future in other areas. I want to thank you again for letting us come before you, and I certainly hope that we've said something that has some value and that will cause you to join us in our belief that it takes a village to educate a child.
Thanks, John. Questions for Ms. Rittenberry, Mr. Jeffries? Carol?
I have one question. The operating expenses, where do books and supplies come in? Are they included in operating expenses or?
No, ma'am. Now, what we, see, now that's where, see, operating expenses are security.
Yeah.
We got cameras, we gotta pay for our part of the
Right.
camera system, we gotta pay for utilities. And the books and things of that sort, they have to come from either grant money that we get from the county or elsewhere, or it comes from the fundraising monies that we raise through contributions from the community.
Well, I guess I'm actually just trying to find out if in your expenses, if there's enough, if you all have, like, are they indirect expenses in there where they are in the expenses? And if you have enough money for updated materials and in the center?
I am so happy you asked that question, because the answer is no, we don't. And here's what happens if we have a need for books. We've had some directors at our facility who have gone out and gotten books through Books for Keeps, I believe it is, and several other organizations who have donated books to us because we are not sufficiently funded to do it. Those are areas where we do need funding so that we can not only get those books that we need. I wish you could come by sometime and see. Our building is packed with books, and we paid very few dollars for those books because we've gotten people to donate.
Thank you. And I have visited once.
Oh, you do know
Yes.
about us?
Yes.
Thank you.
Others?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
First of all, I wanted to, and I said I was gonna wait and say it publicly, for the amount we give you for operating. I really appreciate, I think you are the only independent agency. If I'm wrong, someone correct me. If I'm wrong, someone correct me, but you are the only independent agency that sends us a report each month, or thereabouts. I just met Ms. Rittenberry, I had no idea that was Ms. Rittenberry, but I saw the names on the report. It makes it so much easier. I struggle having these presentations, because it's like we gotta absorb so much at a presentation when we can kind of keep up with, when we get a regular report. And you took that on yourselves. It's not a requirement, but you took the initiative, and I want to appreciate it. The other thing I would like.
Could I respond to that just for a second? Mrs. Rittenberry will tell you that the person who said, God bless his soul, he said, I want everybody to get a report, one of our monthly reports, and that was Aaron Hurd. He said that we need to have other people, other than the agency that we have to report to, which is community development. He said, we need to let others know what we're doing. So Aaron Hurd was the one who said, let's tell our story to others.
Well, I suggest that be one of the things we plan for 2024, that we get some kind of report and not just a face-to-face at budget time. The other thing is, and this is probably a question for the manager. So some of the, and I'm still learning too, even though I've been here for a minute, some of the requests are operational only, and others are what? Explain it to me.
Well, I think all the requests ultimately are operational. I don't think, so I would say that the two categories would be operational or capital, and traditionally, these have been operational in nature. I would tell you that one difference would be perhaps, the advisory bodies, the commissions, like we want to be careful about how much operations they get into without staff, that they would be more advisory in nature. That's, that'd be the only distinction I'd make there. Did I answer your question?
So any other funding that,
Well, I'll give you a good for instance on that.
Give me a
So
good
like, for instance, I think AIM was asking for monies to go out and pursue grants. Well, that's something traditionally staff does. So I would caution against that. I mean, I know that I don't want to negate anything they asked for today without learning more about it. But, we don't apply, nobody applies for grants unless the commission approves that, right? So that wouldn't be.
That's right.
So just things like, I want to be careful about operationalizing committees that aren't, don't have staff, So we have staff liaisons, but this is not the case with Athens Tutorial.
well, I definitely think that we need to, and I guess that's what we're doing now. We're getting information, we're going to have some discussions. Actually, my son went through Athens Tutorial, Corey. And I know the benefits. And it seems, we always talking about what we want to do for youth. We don't invest in youth like we should. And we need to find a way to do it. Like I said, I don't want to mess up our system that seems to be what we've been doing. But definitely, I'm getting all of this all kind of screwed up here now because we're talking about T-Splice, E-Splice, Splice, all of these. But when we're talking about youth, it just seems it is, to me, Athens Tutorial should have probably been part of our ARPA money. But we're gathering information. This is just information gathering, right? And then we're going to talk about this. And we really need to find ways that the things that we keep talking about, that we put money to it. I don't know how. I'm still trying to figure out. I didn't even realize about operational and capital, so I got that now.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure. And I'll say, with respect to youth development and ARPA, and just for everybody's benefit, we came up with a process. As you know, a year ago, the commission designated the school district as sort of a primary advisory body on youth development that we partner with. And with Dr. Hooker's arrival, we shared with him a potential process where we could partner together, a one-pager, if you will. He showed that to his board. They seemed favorable. Showed it to y'all at your recent retreat. You seemed favorable. And so, Commissioner, we will hopefully be pursuing a very public process where everybody can witness the discussions, learn about what their priorities are, and how we can best use this very temporary money in our community to make a difference in our youth lives. And so that's really the trajectory we're on, unless y'all direct otherwise.
Other questions? Dexter?
Yeah, and thank you for presenting, and having been a former board member, I understand the work that you all do, and we appreciate that. And I just want to echo what Commissioner Thornton said, that, the money that we give you all, and y'all appreciative, so, moving forward, we really need to be consistent based on the other agencies that have presented to us. So hopefully in our conversations, we can look at those things and see how we can do better to help you all moving forward. So
We certainly do appreciate all the things that y'all consider.
Patrick, you were first. But in my district.
Just a comment and two questions. First of all, my mom and daddy couldn't educate me, and you guys did, so thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, they didn't, it was hard times back in those days. So, but do you get any funding from CCSD? And do you get any funding from Clarke County School District?
No.
Okay.
but you all, the teachers do come and volunteer though, right? So indirectly.
Yeah, no, they don't volunteer, we pay them.
Oh, okay.
Now, if you want, I'll spend a minute talking about it.
Sure.
We have what we consider one of the best models for tutoring. We have tutoring in 2 schools. Now, Mrs. Rittenborough knows it. She does it every day. She runs this aspect of our program. We've got tutors who are school teachers in the two schools that they tutor, and they tutor them in the same schools where they teach them. It's Howard Stroud. The tutors are paid by us in Howard Stroud, who teach the kids during the day, and they are paid by us to tutor the same kids who are in trouble in the afternoon or after-school program. Slightly different from Gaines School, and there's a reason. Gaines School, the rule or the method is still there, but what we have is a transportation challenge. Housing authority students comprise the majority of the people at Gaines. Ms. Rittenborough got set up a program at Aaron Hurd's Community Center where they can walk down the street to tutoring, which will be tutored by the same teachers from Gaines Elementary School, as if they were on site. That model, we think, is a strong model, not only because it's convenient for all students, but the relationship among teachers and students is one that moves from daytime, 9 to 3, to after school, and that bonding creates the most positive environment for positive results in tutoring.
That's great. That consistency.
Consistency is the word. Consistency is the word. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Jeffries, speaking to the fundraising aspect, because you're in my district, I actually know that building very well.
Oh, okay.
It's great to know who you are.
Yeah.
Your biggest fan.
Thank you.
So since COVID, have you had, has it been really hard to fundraise?
Yes, ma'am. One of the things that has really happened to us is we've been affected just as everyone else, I think, who's in the fundraising business.
Right.
People are not giving as much as they did. There are some consistent givers, and I will bet y'all money, if you check your mail, I sent all of y'all some too, I believe. I sent every one of y'all some. But I know y'all get a lot of mail, and what we've done is we tried to cover the entire community and give people an opportunity to give.
Which is also a cost, right?
I'm sorry?
Which is also a cost, right?
Yeah, we put together the program, and what we will do with that fundraiser is we will go out and try to get people to give. You give at certain levels, and we've got material that will show you what that is and encourage you to do. It's all to make a contribution, and it's all tax deductible as we are a 501c3.
Well, anytime you have fundraising, just, let me know.
We will do that right away.
It's actually in my district, so.
Yeah, listen, this is the first time I've ever had somebody who's elected official say, listen, I'm ready to give you some money. I said you appreciate it.
Or at least some footwork, whatever.
Thank you so much.
All right, one last question.
My question then is, the 3,500 that we give, and it's operational, and it's for the maintenance and
Yes.
and all of that.
Yeah.
Was that impacted when the nonprofits went to zero rent?
Yeah, what happened is that I think the mayor agreed to allow us to continue that money. And then what we did is we rolled that money into the operational section. And the mayor, prior to Mayor Gertz, provided us with money because we were about to get kicked out of the building because we were struggling to try to pay the rent. So now that we have a consistent policy that applies across the board.
So who do you pay rent to?
Oh, well, a long time ago. Yes.
No, I guess what I'm saying.
When I say rent, I think everybody in our building had to pay something, as I recall.
So I guess what I'm trying to figure out then, if the 3,500, was not Athens Tutorial part of the nonprofits that we gave relief to?
Yes, and John's referring before, it's been called rent, but it was their share of like the groundskeeping and janitorial services that we charged all, prorated on, I think, the space that they occupied. That was for years, and then the commission revisited the leasing policy and changed that, and since then, we've been in $1 a rent.
Yes.
Okay, so actually, this $3,500 is, it's not physical $500.
Well, I think it was offsetting the contribution to facilities maintenance, and then when that got reduced to $1,
Yes.
you all began to use it for operational expenses
Exactly.
instead.
That's what I'm asking.
The mayor agreed that we should go forward and use it in that way.
Okay.
And we appreciate it because it did help us.
Okay, that's kind of where I was heading at.
All right.
I think I'm going over my time.
That's all right.
I'm so sorry.
Good to have you here.
I am so sorry.
Thank you.
I told my wife when I left home, I said, I'm gonna speak, and she's looking at us like, I'm gonna be here for a few minutes, I'm gonna do 10 minutes and get away, and we'll leave here in 15 minutes. That was wrong. I talked.
You
more than I
tried.
should.
That's good, that's good.
But
You
thank
tried.
It was good stuff.
You answered questions more than you ran long on your presentation.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's
right.
different, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was our fault.
We thank y'all so much.
Tiffany, get that camera out.
Mr. Jeffries, don't leave.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, you have to leave.
Go take a break. Go excuse yourself.
We're on camera, they're gonna say, I'm gonna get an email.
That's okay. She said she wanted
Picture.
to take a picture. Okay,
You know
thank
where
you
to
so
find
much.
him.
Yeah. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. All right, y'all, next up, we've got Marcus Garner from the Athens Neighborhood Health Center. Good to see you, Chris. Good to see all of you all. Yes, good.
Oh, all right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Make sure you get plugged in. Hey, yep, I'll help you get set up
All
here.
right, thanks a lot.
Sure thing. All right, technology is our friend.
All right, thank you again. Good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
I am Marcus Garner. I'm the director of Athens Neighborhood Health Center. And on behalf of the staff as well as the board, thank you very much for allowing us to be here to present another year as far as on the potential resources that we will receive to assist with our operation, as well as to help us serve the community throughout Athens-Clarke County. This is these resources are very beneficial to us in order to help us to enhance our existing services that we have in place. And as many of you all already know, Athens Neighborhood Health Center has been rooted in the community for 52 years. We're considered a federal qualified health center, FQHC as we say, and that's based on us receiving a particular reimbursement from Medicaid and Medicare, as well as our main mission is to provide services to patients regardless of their ability to pay. We really stand on that. We're the only medical facility here in Athens that's a FQHC, and we're one of 35 throughout the state. I want to provide some additional facts that I know many of you may already know, as far as dealing with the summary and so forth, but I wanted to provide some data as well. We just submitted what we call our UDS system data information. This is something that all the community health centers have to submit as an annual report that we give to the government as one of our mandates in order to stay compliant. But as I mentioned earlier, we're 50 years within the community, and we received our FQHC status in 2012. Last year, we served 7,684 patients, and we had 21,204 visits. We have 57 staff members, 9 medical providers, 3 family medicine, 1 pediatrician, 4 nurse practitioners, and 1 PA physician assistant. We have 1 pharmacist, 1 dental, 1 behavioral health staff that's contractual services, a psychiatrist that provide telehealth services for our patients. At this time, we have 9 board members and 7 are patients. And the reason why I put that on there because it's a mandate that 51% of our board has to be patients of the clinic. So we're in compliance with that as well. Going back. Some other things that as I said, we serve 7,684 patients throughout the community. And what I did, I took the top 5 zip codes There was 35 zip codes in all. And of the top 5 zip codes, as you see where our patient is coming from, that represents 77% of that particular number of the patient population. From the 601, there's 24%, 605 and 606 is 20%, and 607 is 9%, and 683 is 4%. And again, the other 23% that will represent is other zip codes that maybe have 1 patient from here, or 3 or 4. So all of that total up to close to 1,700. Some more information as far as that we had to submit to the federal government shows our top patient demographics. Of the 7684, 47% is African American, 28% Hispanic, and 16% is white. The patient payer makeup is Medicaid is 41%, private insurance was 25%, and uninsured population or self-pay was 24%, and the Medicare population was 11%. As many of you all know, we have 3 locations, and the one is right down the street at 675 College Avenue, and we have 12 exam rooms there, and 1 behavioral health, and we provide family medicine, pediatrics, behavioral health, COVID tests, and vaccinations. One of our newest site, again, many of you all know, is the Hillsman Health Center. That's a collaborative effort among the school district. It's located in between Hills Middle School and Gaines Elementary School. We provide primary care services there. Our nurse practitioner, she's the lead provider there, and we were able to hire a dentist last year. We finally have dental service. When I say finally, as many of y'all know, we opened in 2019, and it took us from 2019 until May of last year to start these services. So it was very difficult to recruit a dentist, but she is finally there and doing a great job. And also we realize it is a need. I mean, we only have 1 chair, 1 op there, and we need a couple more. So that's, I guess, another grant resource opportunity and present later on. Again, as you all know, the partnership with us, dealing with the city's 402 McKinley Drive, we lease from you all on this particular building. Been there for approximately 26 years. And last year around this time, I presented to you all about the expansion project. Hopefully I know it's going to take place this year. This is, you all probably seen the schematics as well. Just want to reiterate, basically the expansion is going to double our medical exams and add 3 dental ops, and as well as present the opportunity to have behavioral health service there as well. And we will have the ability to expand the pharmacy. And I wanted to concentrate on McKinley Drive site, dealing with our patient and community benefits. Kind of like this presentation is kind of like twofold. One, to thank you for the opportunity for the resources, as well as to ask for your support. As you all know, that the McKinley Drive site, we've been closed ever since December 27 due to the water damage and the pipes bursting. And I just wanted to show you all the benefits that this particular site is bringing to the community as well as the patients. For this particular site, we serve close to 3,300 patients, and the patient visits are 9,000. The services provided is family medicine, pediatrics, behavioral health, and pharmacy. The pharmacy outcomes, I really want to focus on the pharmacy because, as you all seen in the handout, when it comes to our revenue within our organization, the pharmacy is 46% of our revenue. So it's very vital, very detrimental as far as having those particular services there. We average 35 scripts a month, and some of the examples of patient savings, I just list 3. I asked our pharmacist, Dr. Kasimi, to I think some of you all have seen this before, due to us being a FQHC, a Federal Qualified Health Center, that we had the opportunity to have what we call 340B, a federal drug program, where basically all the community health centers throughout the United States, about 1,500 of us, can basically purchase drugs from the Merck and so forth, and AmerisourceBergen, kind of like a group rate among all of us. So we've been able to purchase these drugs at a low cost and then able to resell to the patients. We made the insulin where we sell it for $3, we probably purchased it for $2. But the federal government allows us a certain cap we can go to in order to resell. But due to that, and due to being part of this federal program, we're able to sell the insulin for $3. But for other outside pharmacies, it can range from $400 to $600. And the next one, Ozempic, is no charge at all. And compared to other outside pharmacies where it costs $800, that's Ozempic is a medication for diabetes, and the Burol inhalers is $3 as well, compared to it could be $70 per inhaler. Again, I wanted to focus on that because many of you, as I said, about the closure of December 27th, you have the budget and the goals in front of you as far as what we're stating about the resources we would like to use for operating expenses and to maintain and improve Athens neighborhood health existing services. However, due to the crisis at this particular location, pending the distribution of resources, we really like to focus on the rebuilding of services and reestablishment of the patient care and the community benefits. In addition to the consideration of the ongoing resources, we ask that you, again, you're already doing it, but just continue to please help us and build, support us in this rebuilding of the site. The planning department, Gavin and Beth, been very instrumental in helping us, and then, helping us in this particular phase that we in with prompt support. But because of the extended time to start the construction, it presents a medical and financial hardship to our patients, as you probably can imagine. Although our staff has been relocated to our college site, but due to, being lack of capacity and so forth, it's kind of have limitations. And in addition to that, our pharmacy is closed. So those benefits that I mentioned, that we do have certain plans, certain options in place where we're working with a particular pharmacy to provide vouchers and so forth, but we're not able to tackle all our patients. So they're missing a lot of these benefits. Some of them, I don't know to the extent of $400 or $600, but they're spending more than $3 on certain drugs. So due to that, that's why I'm asking you all to please, assist with that, with the, not to, discredit or be disrespectful to other agencies that's in that process, because I know other agencies did experience this damage. But, being a director, I kind of have a strong bias opinion that I think we're doing great services and benefit to the community. And the longer that we, extend this time as far as dealing with the construction, that is again, it's going to present a hardship to the patients and the community, as well as it can a financial strain on the overall organization from a operation and management perspective, as you probably can imagine. So again, I apologize. I kind of had two requests, kind of twofold, but again, thank you for allowing us to be here. Thank you for the resources, and appreciate you, helping us, dealing with the McKinley Drive site. As you all can imagine, we just look forward to providing those sort and as well as to expand.
Thanks, Marcus. I appreciate it. I've got a couple questions. We'll start with Allison.
Yes, thank you for
Sure.
summarizing the great work that you do and how you've had to shut down for a little bit here for the expansion. I don't want you to give me these numbers now, but if you could follow up with an email to us, I would like to see sort of extrapolated the operating expenses.
Okay.
What was your actual in FY '22? And, it looks like what the categories and
Right,
what you're
right.
spending and what has gone up to be this new amount.
Yeah.
If you could extrapolate that out for us, that'd be helpful,
Sure,
so I
sure.
could understand that.
Right now, we had that line item, operating expenses. You want more of a
Yeah, like-
detailed sub
yeah.
after that, what other
Yeah.
line item, what
Just more-
activities. and-
Yeah,
okay,
so we
sure
can see
thing.
the different categories and how much and which one went up, the stuff that went up. Thank you.
Patrick?
Yeah, so I'm just trying to, so you're just asking for 100,000, correct?
Yes.
Plus expediency and fixing the pipes and expansion.
Yes, I understand it's a process that we have to go through due to, I know we're very unique. I apologize. I know we're very unique as far as being Athens Neighborhood Health Center as well as Athens-Clarke County building. So I know with the water damage as well as, that has to be repaired as well as we have the opportunity for expansion. It may take a little bit more time to process, but I am asking for that, with that process, for support to expedite.
Yeah.
Expedite it.
Thank you.
On a very respectful request.
Well, definitely I experienced the low-cost drugs. I'm a patient, I'm good. Are those costs based on income?
Yes, it is. I figured that question would come. I did ask the pharmacist, because I was asking for is a sliding fee as well. He says based on a certain poverty level, as well as sliding fee of the patient as well in Medicare. A lot of Medicare patients and then the patients on a sliding fee scale may be, have the opportunity to receive those benefits.
I really don't even think anybody even, when you get up and running, you really need to we need to do more marketing because a lot of people who I know are eligible for these cost savings, they do not know and they're using the traditional retail pharmacy. Just more marketing and getting the word out.
Well, in order to add to that, you have to be a patient in Athens Neighborhood Health Center.
Right.
You have to, our primary care provider has to be from there, and sometimes, that kind of deters some people from coming. But I hope not that many just become a patient because it's part of the federal program. That's just a mandate of this federal program, federal project. You have to be a patient of that in order to receive these benefits, and instead of just coming off the street per se. I won't say coming off the street, I'm sorry, but lack of a better term, but just coming in blind
Can't
without.
use it as a standalone pharmacy like you would a CVS.
Right.
And I guess, again, I go back to marketing. To me, when I come in there, the neighborhood health center looks like what we keep advocating for. It's clean, it's your customer service cannot be any better.
Thank you.
And the diversity, Hispanic, white, black, male. I mean, everybody's up in there.
Right.
Professional. So I think when people hear neighborhood health center, they think it's just where you drop off folk and, but it's not like that at all. And you were amazing during COVID. I mean, the quality that you gave. And I think those stereotypes can only get erased by marketing and word of mouth. So that's my point. A lot of people are missing these good benefits because, or some of these benefits, because I know it's a sliding scale, because of a perception that probably needs to change. That was my point.
Thank you for that, because, I mean, that's true. You have a certain perception, stigma or stereotype per se, and that's something that we're trying to, get over. But again, this is for, all patients, regardless of your ability to pay. But if you, as you see, our insurance, our private insurance is substantially high as well. So it's for all. And so thank you for that comments.
Couple more questions. Dexter, I saw your hand. Jesse, Tiffany, you had a question? Dexter, go ahead.
Just quickly, do you all plan the partnership with Clark middle school, once they get built, brand new school, and partner with them, or putting part of the center over there?
Yes, the initial, I will use that initial, because it hasn't been finalized, but they would like for us to provide dental services in that particular partnership. In initial discussions, what they asked us to do, and we don't see an issue with that as this idea as far as, the resources and establishing the equipment and so forth. That's one of those things we have to look at, with the one chair at Hillsman, and then the two, what we're proposing at the the three that we're proposing at the expansion, and then another chair at Clarke Middle, or two. We did request two there, because based on what we experienced at Hillsman, we need more than one. And then we have to look at, okay, do we need additional dentists? And so that's why, we had initial discussions, but we'll love to, I talked to our staff as well as our board, and we just wanted to enhance what we have, with the school district. And so I hope that does, next time I come up here, it's finalized.
Okay. And my last thing, what's going on, since McKinley is closed, what's going on with your staff? Where are they?
They're at our college
All of them at college? So nobody got laid off?
No, that's what we're trying to avoid. And that's why I have this twofold request, so we don't reach that point. There are some months down the line that may happen way on down the line, so we don't want to get to that point. But right now, we're thank goodness, in a financial situation where we can maintain everyone, no furloughs, no layoffs, and just relocation. And, you may be cramped up a little bit, that's as far as the disadvantages, but we're able to keep everyone on to work, as well as we have a couple people at our admin office. So when it comes to that, we're good.
So Manager Williams, do we have a timeline yet on when they may get back in? Do we know?
Well, I think they've got quotes coming back this week, I think.
Matter of fact, we met with the contractor that was awarded our original expansion project. They submitted a bid, and they had the subcontractors to come out this morning. And then soon they submit that to the general contractor, and then in turn over to Athens-Clarke County.
Okay.
So to better explain what's going on, as you know, last year, worked with the Neighborhood Health Center. They have attracted some funding for an expansion. And that was been designed, and we talked through all that, and then this happened. So it made sense that we would go ahead and hire the contractor so everything's knitted together well. And so that's what Marcus is speaking of.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Jesse?
And I think trying to understand this, but you weren't planning to have to close the pharmacy for the expansion. That's all because of the water damage. Right?
That's correct. That's correct.
So, there's no pharmacy right now because of the water?
That's correct.
So when you're saying you're looking for help, are you looking for space to temporarily operate out of, or just for us to remain cognizant of doing what we can as a government to help make sure that it remains a priority to move it along as quickly as possible?
That's what I'm asking for, your second part. That's it, because we are looking on our end as well, if there is a potential to have modules or another, because the pharmacy can be, again, that can be very unique, as many of y'all know, with the DEA regulations and the secure, the strengthening of the walls and the floor and so forth. And so we had to look at a particular module for that. But it's all about timing, because if we just talked about that in the board meeting earlier, if an agency has allowed us to have a module, and they put it in place by March or April, and then we may have the ability to move in June, it may not be feasible for us to do it. But so right now, based on what you're saying, I'd rather concentrate on any support that, as far as Athens-Clarke County could help us with.
So those folks who are getting 3,500 prescriptions a month, right now they have to go somewhere else entirely?
Yes.
That's basically what's happening?
Yes, they have to go, give a plug, but this is exactly what we have. We're partnering with CVS, and we're able to provide, if you will, vouchers for the patients at sliding fee scale, the very difficult, high chronic illnesses, and then it is a burden to purchase those drugs. So once we identify that person, then we go to go to CVS, and then we have a special voucher system or account, and then in turn we will support that out-of-pocket costs. So that's what we're doing now. But to that, as you may know, you have some that's uninsured, but you have people that have insurance, but those drugs can still be very high after insurance paid. And so that's the ones, those patients is being hit hard as well. So we trying our best to come up with another plan to offer some support. But, if you have a cost of $400 or $600, that'd be very difficult if you have numerous patients to, provide even, 40% of that over. So we're trying to be very creative, so it won't be such a hardship to them. But that's our plan now, what we're, to hopefully support our patients.
Tiffany's got one last question.
No, everyone asked my question already. My question was, how fast do you think you can get back into the building? Because I know that you don't only serve residents on the east side, that you serve all of Athens. And so that was my question.
Yes. Well, and again, the initial plan was once construction start, it would probably be a 14-week process. And then we did, at the time, the contractors that was working with us, we actually, put a priority on that pharmacy, and they was looking at far as establishing the pharmacy within 8 weeks of that 14-week period. But now, since, like Blaine was saying, we have a new bidding process, and another contractor may come in, and he may present another timeline that may be shorter. So, but right now, that was the initial discussion, probably 8 weeks once, the construction start for the pharmacy, and then 14 weeks for the whole.
Keep me in the loop.
Sure will.
Marcus, we're looking forward to you being back at full strength.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it a whole lot. Thanks for your work. You guys do great stuff. All right, just two left tonight. Athens Cultural Affairs Commission is next. I think Helen Kirkendall is here for that. Evening.
Good evening, everybody. All right, let me just find my place here. My name is Helen Kirkendall. Can you all hear me? Is this coming through? Okay. And I am the current chair of the Cultural Affairs Commission. And just to make sure everybody's on the same page with what we do, we are 11 volunteers that serve on the commission, and our overall mission is to foster the development and enjoyment of performing, visual, musical, literary, and cultural activities in Athens-Clarke County. That's our mission. And really what we're trying to do is to promote public art in Athens. And I want to say that when we started working on our master plan, one of the things that we heard over and over and over again is we want Athens to look like a creative community, and public art is such an important part of that. And so I am thrilled to be a part of this organization that is doing that work. And we've created some really wonderful pieces of public art to contribute to the community. And most of our work is really on the capital side. Most of our work is facilitating the 1% program, really mostly funded through SPLOST. So, and when we have a SPLOST project, it's usually a fairly high dollar figure, and we do national calls, we solicit proposals from all over the country to make sure that we have a broad range of high quality and impactful art for our community. But we also want to support the local artists, and that's a really important mission for us. And a lot of our operating side of our budget is to really support that the local artists and art education and awareness. And so this year we're asking for $45,000, and our primary goal for those funds is to strengthen and promote community involvement and engagement in our public art projects. So one of our biggest programs that we fund is the Arts in Community Grants. And so we offer awards for artist and community-initiated projects. So we solicit ideas from the community to fund. And we're funding them now at a level of $6,000, which we feel is a really a significant amount of money that really makes an impact for the organizations and artists that are trying to bring programs to our community. And all of those programs are brought to the public free of charge and intended to really get folks excited about our local artists. The other program that we have been funding is our Poet Laureate. So I think it was in '22, we initiated the first Poet Laureate program, and so we fund that. We also want to, this year, put a lot of emphasis on public education through developing media. This year, we are in the process of developing a new website. We have a really antiquated website. We are finally going to get a website that is up to date and really user-friendly. So we funded that this year, and we want to make sure that we have media that we can post to that website, and things like videos. We really would like to fund more videos that appeal to the younger audience, to families, and they just are easier to relate to than just words on a page. So that's another arena that we want to fund this year with our operating funds. We have really no printed brochures or FAQs or anything like that. We really want to fill that gap with the funds this year. We're also going to, the Music Walk of Fame is a very popular program, and we want to continue to fund that. So that's pretty much the main elements that we would like to use the funding for this year.
Thanks, Helen.
Any questions?
Questions?
Tried to keep it short and sweet for you guys.
You did great, thank you, thank you. I was curious about, I think at one time, some of the funding was to help have an inventory of the public art so that it's findable. So is that it?
We have completed our
Okay.
inventory, and we have begun to look at the maintenance needs. We have 196 art elements in our collection.
Yeah.
Wonderful, yeah.
That's awesome. Does it include the marble moon statue behind the planting? I mean, you go to the
It
old
includes
ones as
all
well?
the paintings, all the, the things that are sort of hidden in buildings here and there, so
Okay.
yes.
And then for the Walk of Fame, does that also have sort of as far as, I thought there was something like at the Welcome Center that people could get, like, you know how some people used to go and find all the bulldogs?
Yes,
I
right.
just thought we need people to find the
Exactly,
the art,
and
what I
those
call
are
real art.
those are the kinds of things that we want to do, are those
Okay.
like visitor maps and brochures where you can find things, and we want to, also have the other kind of media that the younger tech kids want to use on their phones and that kind of thing. So we
Okay.
want to be able to do that too.
Thanks, good work.
Thank you.
Hi. Yeah, thanks for all your work, and thanks for all the public art. I know you guys have gotten a bit of a bashing lately. And I do have a question, because I was just sharing some information in social media about your openings on the positions, right, in the cultural affairs.
Yes, we have 3 openings.
And I noticed that there's also there's also a place where you can put yourself in for being on a panel, right? How does that work? Are there 2 different things? Is there a different panel of people for each public art? How does that work?
Good question. So for the SPLOST projects, there is an established user group that's associated with each of the SPLOST projects. And so that group, we coordinate with the SPLOS office to, basically, that group looks at the location and type of art that would be suitable for the project. And so that's what the SPLOS user group does. And then once we have an idea of what kind of art we're interested in getting for a project, then we develop what we call request for proposal, and we send that out to the artists, and they bring back their proposals. And then we have a selection panel. And so the selection panel is, we try to get community members to volunteer to be part of that selection panel. And it's, it is the best, most fun part of what we do, and I'm surprised at how few people want to participate. It's just so much fun to look at all the creative ideas that artists come up with. So we do have a place on our website where you can sign up to volunteer to be part of those selection panels. And and we're going to make that sign-up process a lot more robust with our new website so that it becomes much more visible and easier to use.
And speaking of that new website, because I pulled that up, and I wanted to share, this is probably following up on Allison and Commissioner Wright's question on the list of the arts. Is there going to be on that website, I know there's a locator that isn't working right now, and now I understand because it's a new website.
No, this that you're looking at right now, that's our old site.
Right, that's right. So I know that.
And it's
but on
terrible.
the new one, is there going to be just a list of all the works with the artists, maybe where they're from, things along those lines? You click on it, all that stuff there.
We will have a Google Map locator. And then we're also going to have a gallery to showcase all of particularly the most recent art that's been added. Our commission has been around for about 10 years. And so in the past 10 years, we've added, wonderful pieces of art, and we really want to showcase those, especially that the commission has funded in the past 10 years since our existence.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, me? Oh, okay, thank you. This might be a question for the manager. We had a lot of debate or conversation about the trying to get local artists to apply and for some of these opportunities. And I looked at, I guess it was some of the requirements as far as insurance, and it was very, very, very detailed. Is that coming from us as a local government or the cultural affair? It was, when I looked at it, it's some of the best artists that I know in this town could never reach that bar. So is that coming from us, or is it coming from the cultural affairs?
Well, the Cultural Affairs Commission, since we're using, taxpayer dollars, follows our procurement policies, and so they submit the RFPs through the government. And yes, the government, we come up with the, requirements for insurance and, contracting and all that.
that's another issue I think we need to look at. We can talk about how we want to diversify these areas. And I'm not saying lower our standards. I'm not suggesting that at all. But I do think we need to look at what are some of the barriers that some of our local artists cannot reach, or to educate them on what they need to be able to be a strong applicant.
Well, I certainly would defer to Helen, but I think there's a bit of misinformation that local artists are not being involved in these because, as I said the other night, there's a majority of local artists involved in most of the art. It's the bigger pieces that tend to attract the folks from out of town. But even some of our bigger pieces, and the other night when we were going through it, y'all were asking these questions, I should have written them all down and I will. For instance, Dudley Park, both the Heron Mosaic, that's a local artist. The Daisy at the top of the hill, that's a local artist. I think the Roundabout at Whitehall is a local artist, so.
Cooperative Extension.
The Cooperative Extension Art. So there's a lot of local artists that are involved, so I don't want y'all to walk away thinking that they're not. And of course, they are invited to participate. And as I think Commissioner Wright stated the other night, it's a blind process, so it's the merits of the work. Now, certainly, you know, you can converse with your advisory committee on any type of preferential policies you'd like to see, but Helen, did I misstate anything?
No, I think you said it quite well.
I guess I better be real clear. I think the conversations were some of the local artists, young artists, old artists of color. They're not getting this information in communities of color. And then and matter of fact, Kelly, I had one person to call you, and it was Ronnie, and because he wanted to know how to get through the process. But he sent me the requirements, you know, so I did refer him to you. So that's when I was not going to make this a color issue, but that we have some great art, even at our high schools, and when I see their art up, but they could not meet some of these requirements. So you'll be expecting a call.
I'll definitely engage with him.
Okay.
I would anticipate Manager Williams may be able to provide a little more color, that some of these are the standard sort of risk management questions we've always got to ask if somebody's working on public property. And that would be true whether they were hanging a lighting fixture, painting a wall, or doing an art installation. So, and I know that those are challenging, particularly given, I mean, I started my life as a teen and early 20s person as an artist. I was not familiar with any of those sorts of requirements. I just let it all hang out.
The art. Let the art roll. I totally agree. And again, I do want to thank you. I don't think that people really is harsh about culture and art. I do think that folk want to see a balance. And maybe there's some education we need to do to help reach out to those folk that have that skill, but may need some guidance, may need some mentoring, may need partnerships. But I want to go on record that I do support cultural affairs, and I think a lot of other people do too.
If I could just say one more thing about some of those larger projects when we do bring in an artist from out of town. We also fund local artists to pair and work with those artists so that they can learn the best practices and that kind of thing. So we do that as well as a way to help train the local younger folks.
I appreciate you.
One or two more questions. Jesse?
Yeah, I got a couple questions. I'm just trying to make sense of the narrative in our document here. It seems to add up to 37,000 of the 45. So I'm just curious what that other 8 is in terms of the operating expenses.
I think there had been an error in one of the early versions of it, and it was corrected recently by Lisa. Lisa Thurman sent me a corrected version.
Okay, and yeah, I guess I'd love to see what that updated version is, just to know.
It's 45.
Yeah, it is 45.
Mm-hmm.
But the totals listed in the explanation only add up to less than that. So, but it also says that there's 3 artist awards at $6,000 each under performance measures, but then under services and programs, it says increasing those to $6,000 each for a total of 30, which makes me think there's 5.
5,
So
yeah.
there's 5, not 3.
That's our goal, yes.
Okay. Do you know how many you're going to land at having gotten this past fiscal year? Because I know there's been a lot of upheaval with ACAC turnover and stuff. So.
Well, one of the issues that came up this fiscal year is that we were waiting to hear about the exact procedures and requirements for the arts and community grants. And so we were consulting with the city attorneys and the procurement process and all of that. Mm-hmm. By the time we got an answer about that, it became really too late for us to do those grants within the 12-month period because of the time that we require for advertising and then going through the contracting process. We pretty much have to have those calls going out in August in order for an artist to get under contract and have enough time to actually do the project. And so this year we had to wait on instructions, and so we weren't able to do the arts and community grants this year, but we intend to do it next year, and now that we understand the process and procedures, it'll be much more streamlined.
So essentially, the bulk of this request is really just going to be a rollover from this current fiscal year to next year.
It doesn't roll over, unfortunately. It's use it or lose it.
Oh, I understand it's a use it or
operations.
lose it for y'all, but I'm saying
Yeah.
for our purposes, like the 30,000 in grant awards that was budgeted last year, we're just budgeting
We're
it again
asking
this
for the
year
same amount this
without
year.
even having to, but we're just budgeting the same 30,000. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
We haven't changed our budget
Yeah.
request from last year to this year.
So for our purposes, it's essentially a rollover. And I guess to that end, I'm just curious, has there been any follow-up since our vote in December on Lay Park being one of the places where, so I know we had discussed in our December meeting, this was before the commission transition, ACAC being engaged about a potential mural at Lay Park, citing potentially the use of these unspent funds as a way to help fund a mural on that exterior wall when it gets painted. Has that been something that's been followed up on yet, or?
Well, that we had a presentation at our last meeting about that, about the mural proposal, and we would be looking at our capital funds to do that, so that we did, because we're in that, we don't have enough time to do the contracting and get the work done before June.
Okay. Noted. Thank you.
Any other questions for Helen? We really appreciate it.
Thank you
so
very
for coming
much.
down.
Have a great
Thank
evening.
you.
Thank you for everything that y'all do.
Thank you. All right. Bringing up the end of the train tonight, is, Mark Madison from United Way, who's going to talk about the 411 services that they provide with local funds.
Yes, 211.
211,
There you
thank
go.
you, thank you.
I'll give you the 411 on 211 real quick. I do. It hides though. I appreciate that, because we've had to deal with that before at our office. Yeah.
You gonna eat your cornbread?
Well, I appreciate you all sticking with me into the evening. Appreciate your attention. It's impressive. Stick with it, and thank you for appreciate my request to go either first or last. So thank you for that. I'm still operating on old Windows 10, so it's going to be a second, but we're rolling here in a minute. Oh yeah, not by choice.
Yeah, by choice.
Okay.
My whole house has iPhones, but that's just too much.
Do they get mad at you for having green text?
They do. All
Yeah.
my friends do too.
Oh yeah. I don't really care, but one of my brothers has an Android, and everybody's so mad at him in the family group text. I have 3 siblings, and everybody's got kids. It's a mess. Thank you for that. All right, everybody. Well, good evening, commissioners.
All right.
Mayor Gertz, Mr. Williams, Claire, Chris, good to see you. I appreciate you taking the time to let me talk to you about 211 tonight. I'm going to get this going, but there will be, and I'm going to let you know, more information that I'm necessarily going to go in depth with. I'm more than pleased to send this presentation to you tomorrow, whenever you might like it, if that's of interest to the group. If it's not, I, of course, won't bother you with additional
Please
emails.
send.
But you've got it. So I'll go ahead and get rolling, but there will be some additional information on here that we won't necessarily go deep into, so don't fret if I move through it. So I'm Mark Madison. I'm with our United Way of Northeast Georgia, and I've had the pleasure of working at United Way for 6 years now, and I'm now, as of this year, an 11-year Clarke County resident. So pleased to be with you all.
To get into it just a little bit of the United Way overall, and then I'll talk mainly about 211 for the duration of my time. So we are the Northeast Georgia United Way. You may have heard of United Way before if you're not as familiar with our organization. Many of you are, but you may not be aware that while there is an international and national component of United Way, every single United Way is individual and local. We are a separate 501c3 from United Way Worldwide, and the funds that we get to spend here are raised here. And that is not in any way contributed by United Way Worldwide. This all happens right here locally in the 12 counties we serve, as you can see up there. Of course, Clarke County is it's not the literal biggest, but it is the most populated by a substantial margin of our 12 counties. Then we have 3 focus areas. Our United Way determined these focus areas alongside the Fanning Institute and the Georgia Center for Nonprofits through census data as well as focus groups with the community. And those are basic needs, early childhood success, particularly birth to 5, and workforce development, especially opportunity youth, which is the 16 to 24-year-old youth, neither in school nor working. And then we like to say there's one way, and that's united to meet these challenging and large issues in our community. So 211, how does 211 fit into this? So one of the big things people know United Way for is we are a funder. Organizations that provide services in those 3 focus areas I mentioned are supported by us. We actually engage community volunteers ourselves. We had over 40 community volunteers help us review applications this past year to make those investments back into our community. But we have to ask ourselves the question, there might be those resources, but what if I don't know about them? And the answer to that question is 211. 211 actually covers 99% of the United States as of this past November, with Chicago coming online, the last major city to implement 211. So what's 211? Most of you know again, but in case you didn't, or you just wanted to see it succinctly, it's a Health and Human Service referral line. It is free and confidential, and we connect you to local resources. So we're not just searching a database that was put together by a bot somewhere else. This is actually myself and my team looking at the local resources, talking to the individuals that run those programs, finding out if this place is closed or that place is closed, or if they're going to be open next month or not. During the pandemic, that was a key factor for 211 and really shows what it is capable of when crisis hits. But at the same time, we're able to update things like when the rent assistance program ended or stopped taking new referrals and anything like that as well. We do have bilingual contact specialists who speak English and Spanish. And we're actually able to bring a 3rd person into calls to translate in over 100 other languages. You can also text in Spanish as well, and I'll talk a little more about that in just a moment. And while I'm on this slide, I will mention we have over 200 local resources in our database. The resources in our database do not have to be organizations funded by United Way at all. They are government resources. They are any other nonprofit resource. They just need to be something that a person in need would need and can access. So let's see if I can move forward. Well, the next thing is basically how it works. So there's 3 different ways you can get connected to 211. The main one is calling. You know the phone number 211, but I'll tell you the fastest way to get in touch with 211 is to text us. If you text the number 898-211, your zip code, you're going to get a response within a minute. And that is faster than calling, because if I call, Chris calls, and Mayor Gertz calls, we've tied up all 3 agents that are usually on the line already. But if all of us text, you're going to get an auto text that's going to say, okay, is it one of these top 6 needs? You can just press 1, and based on your zip code, I'll send you the 3 closest things to you. If you want to actually text with somebody, you can keep going, and you can live text with somebody too. But you can get that automatic help really easily. And we've seen texting has continually gone up in usage over the years, while calls has dropped. Or our online database, which also has seen a significant increase in usage over the years. Next piece, who is 211 for? So something I wanted to share with you all, and the only story I have for you tonight, though there's a million 211 stories. 211 really is for everyone. It's especially for our nonprofit networks. The number one way people find out about 211, other than them just happening upon it, is from an agency. Someone comes to an organization seeking one kind of help, they don't necessarily provide every kind of help that person needed. And they'll say, you know what you need to do? You need to call 211 to find out where to go next. Or someone calls in and say, oh, sorry, we don't actually do that. We're out of funds this month. You need to call 211. But it's really useful for other folks, employers, schools, local government. And the story we heard most recently was from an HR professional who told us that an employee came up to them asking for help, saying basically, I can't, they actually had a medical emergency. The bills had piled up, and they didn't know what they needed to do next. They weren't going to be able to stay in their place, but they were able to connect them to 211. 211 was able to find an organization that could help them with financial assistance to cover that gap, and they were able to stay there and actually continue working. And so the reason I share that is that 211 isn't just for that person who needed help. It's also for that person who wanted to help them. They had a way to respond. That person had an actual resource to give them, and that resource was 211.
So that means you could put commissioners on there, so when people contact us for, like, how to get help, we could be like,
That would be a dream of mine. I would love to. You are more than welcome.
all right.
Yeah, send them to us. We'll take them. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. 100%. I'm saying that to other counties as well, because, and I'll get to that in a second, we are incredibly appreciative of the support that Athens-Clarke County gives and has given to this program over the years. And we are still indeed pursuing that in other counties as well. So to give you some of the data, so the next piece I want to do is just break down some of the data for 211 for Athens-Clarke County. This is the part where I've got way more information than we necessarily have time for, but I want to share it with you for the future so you can look through it should you want to. But the main thing I'll show you is that we had nearly 2,800 calls for assistance last year and almost 1,200 texts. Our top 5 referrals, and these are categorized, this is actually these are the individual referrals, as specific as it gets. Housing payment assistance, then housing and shelter, those are different in the way we categorize it, and then food. And I know that I've been privy to some of the conversations around the next strategic plan for the county, and I know this has come up in a lot of our local surveys of individuals in need, and it makes it very clear to us that those very present needs are what are at the top of mind of individuals. That's what you're going to call about. There might be some long-term needs that we want to talk about in these kind of meetings, but those immediate needs are what's going to ring home for a person. Yes?
Are those texts individual people's conversations, or, okay. So
Yes,
it's not like
that's-
if I say hi and then what's up, that counts as 2. That's all.
Correct. Right. It's a really good question. No, that is one full transaction. We would categorize it as a transaction in our language. So it's the whole thing. You text, if you have a 40 text long string with somebody, that's one. Unmet needs. When I say an unmet need, I want to be clear about what this means. An unmet need for us means we did not have a referral to send them to. It doesn't mean necessarily that there was help on the other end or not. It means there's not even somewhere I could tell you that helps with that. You're probably not surprised to see hotel motel payment. Most of us would say that's not really the best long-term investment of our community resources. At the same time, for that person who's staying there would say, well, I'm not too worried about your long-term investments. I'm worried about where I'm staying tonight. So that's why it's our top unmet need. Housing and shelter comes next, and that was a significant increase to that, especially as many of you know, the challenges at Salvation Army put a big piece on that, but hopefully they'll be up and moving full capacity soon, and then transportation. Though I am pleased to share that we were able to provide over $1,800 in free Lyft rides for community members to get to and from interviews and career coaching with Goodwill and Athens Land Trust this past year. That's just a United Way thing, not necessarily a 211 thing. Yes?
Do you all collect any data? I mean, we have a public transit system, right? And obviously
Yes, we do.
they're in need of a ride because for some reason that's not meeting their need. Do you all collect data on why public transit wasn't able to meet their need?
That's a really good question. We don't go that deep. Usually, one of the reasons for an unmet need that we do collect is too far from me or transportation unavailable. However, we don't go so specific as to say, why can't you access public transit? The main reason we don't right now is because Athens is the only county in our technical 15 counties we cover for 211 that has public transit. So it would only be relevant in those conversations. But you're right, that would be really interesting, but we don't have it. Okay. At least not right now.
Is there a way to build that into the data you collect for next year? I just ask because
Maybe.
we're working on a transit
Sure, of
expansion
course.
plan, and there's this question of like, what do we need to do first? Increase
Right.
frequency, go later into the night, go earlier into the morning.
Of course.
Go to more places, and so I think this
Right.
might help us, figure that out.
Sure. We, potentially, I think something we could most certainly do to be of help, we've recently started implementing an outbound texting platform. So if there were some kind of community survey you'd like sent out to people who have called 211 in the past, we'd be happy to share that. I'm not sure, I'll think about and we can talk about how we might implement it into our everyday interactions with folks. We would have to figure out exactly what that question would be and how we would collect the data and if it would come through in a way that makes sense to everybody. But we can at least
have a transit survey that might be really great to send to those
we'd be
folks.
pleased to do so. And so that's something that we can do and actually have brief slide about that later, but that's a very new project for us. But we'd be happy to do it. We did it with the strategic plan. Alejandro Calva gave us the link, and we were able to text that out to folks.
Okay.
So hopefully, we actually can't tell for sure if it got people through that yet. But I can say, when I share that unmet needs, only 17% of any need presented to us was categorized as unmet. So 83% of all needs were able to be given a referral. And I'm going to move through these last pieces relatively quickly for the sake of time. These are our top referred services, broken down by percentage. I have the next slide's a little bit simpler, but it just shows you rent payment assistance, almost 20% of all needs presented, then electric service payment assistance, then food pantries, community shelters. That's low-income subsidized housing, then housing search assistance, water service payment. You can see most of these, and we do actually often kind of categorize these later, and that's what the next slide is going to be about. You can see that the majority of this, once we add them all together, is about people not being able to make ends meet. Yes, ma'am?
So on the top one, rental assisted and payment, were you able to refer people needing that service to when we had the eviction
We certainly were.
prevention?
And that was very helpful.
Okay.
That was very helpful, I'll tell you, especially because we heard a lot of more challenging feedback from the state level assistance in that area. So thank you very much for that local assistance, because it got people help faster. That's the most common thing we see. I used to be a call answerer for 211, and the most common thing I saw anecdotally and also that we see statistically is folks call too late for that kind of assistance. It's already, and of course they do. They're trying to make it happen. They're trying to do all they can to take care of their family. But when it's a week away from being evicted, most processes are too long for that to work.
Okay.
So how do we get ahead of it? Yes, ma'am. So if we combine housing, food, and homeless diversion is including subsidized rental listings as well as shelters. It makes up 72% of all the needs that we presented in our calls. And I share that mainly to share with you that this expresses what 211 is used for, not necessarily just what the need is in the community. Yes, it expresses the need in the community, but we also want people to use 211 for things like Athens Neighborhood Health Center. They don't necessarily think about it. That's not necessarily what's considered, but you could find out about them if you called 211 looking for that kind of help. And organizations like that. So there's a multifaceted thing about that. This was a time series for January to December. We see an increase in August when kids go back to school. We see a big increase, especially last December with how cold it was. For the sake of time, I won't dwell on it, but it's certainly something that's interesting. May drops because we're out of school. This past year, 54% of our contacts were unemployed. Also, not necessarily the same people, but 54% of those who called us received some form of government assistance. That's, of course, not necessarily reflective of the community as a whole, but is reflective of those who are needing this kind of service of 211. That unemployment number is much higher than it used to be. It used to be closer to 30-something% were unemployed. And that's just indicative of the people who call 211. We have our age range breakdown, a very small percentage, but there are some folks, 10 to 19, that have called us. A decent chunk of folks, 60 plus, and our 20 to 29 group actually has gone up. From what we've noticed. It's not a massive, we're looking at how big that change is and what may be the cause of that, but it's very common. 30 to 39 is normally the largest one. Household makeup, those with children make up 48%, without children 52%. So that's roughly split down the middle, but I will tell you that a little over 70% of our callers are female. And our largest population group, singular demographic group, is single women, single females with children. That makes up 35% of all of our contacts. There are lots of social and societal things that lead into that. The biggest and most obvious one would be the burden of single-parent households generally fall to women, which leads to someone being in a position to need to call 211. Last bit of data before I just tell you a couple things we've done this year and then sign off. We thought this would be interesting to you to see the zip code breakdown. We cannot go down to census tract, though I would be interested to find that out. So we can currently just say that 30606, not necessarily surprisingly, that's my zip code, but 37%, nearly 37%, 28 in 30605, 23, 30601. And then that 6%, 07, and everybody else is also 6%.
Can I just make?
Yeah.
So kind of skewed because most of the population in
Right.
Athens is 30606.
Yes, and we've actually considered looking at that exact thing and seeing how does it, and if it does differs at all. It may not differ at all, which would actually be kind of a good thing in a strange way, because we know that everybody's hearing about 211 at the same level. But you make a good point.
And I guess I'm looking at the 30601,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the same, it's very similar to when Marcus spoke
Mm-hmm.
about where
Neighborhood health.
health
patients.
incidents are coming
Mm-hmm.
from.
Yes, I noticed that as well, actually. You're
Okay,
right.
okay.
This is just to let you know the fact that, so all that data that I shared with you, we can run really, and I shared that zip code one mainly, not that it's a groundbreaking bit of data, as you pointed out, Commissioner Davenport, but it's, it's kind of reflective of the population, but we can go deeper into our data. We can look at the needs in a particular area. Every single one of these variables can be layered on top of one another, but there is a website that we actually have made publicly available through our website called 211 Counts, where you can see basically a live counter of our 211 contacts. So every day it's updated with the information that I've shared with you today. So you could see yourself, split it by county, split it by zip codes, or whatever, to look down into that same information. But we are always more than happy to share with you all the information we collect. Last bits, I want to show you some of the ways that some of the newer things we've been able to do with the funds you all have provided us with. Of course, there's the really cool and great stuff we do every day. But then we've gotten to, for the first time ever, really get into promoting 211, which is probably one of the more critical aspects of the service, because if people don't know about it, it doesn't really matter. So we are very appreciative to the folks at Transit. We now have bus ads on every Athens Transit bus for the rest of this year. And so we're really excited about that piece. And you can see in the bottom, we've got a Se Habla Español. We also were able to partner with Casa de Amistad to translate all of our flyers into Spanish as well as English. So we're able to get these up in different locations. We're very excited about that, especially. They've been wonderful partners. So if you know anyone needs translation, reach out to Susan. And then this last bit, I mentioned proactive use of 211. So I mentioned that we are doing some outbound texting. Our first foray into that, we piloted this with Bright Paths last year, but now we're rolling it out to a number of other partners. Any parents of children birth to 5, we are trying to get them to sign up for this texting listserv, is the best term I have for it. But essentially, we want to send people resources before they need them. And so I've got these little cards. You don't need to take them. I have some in my car, but we're trying to share this out to folks so that when different things come up, we can go ahead and push it out. There are, story times at this library. There are free books through Books for Keeps at this resource. You can get these different things, these different ways, so that those things are put in front of folks. They don't have to happen upon them or ask about them. We can get them in front of them in a way that they're going to see. So that's something we're doing now and hope to eventually expand into other areas, but that's where we're starting, since early childhood success is one of our focuses. I appreciate you giving me so much time. That's what I have, and I'm happy to answer your questions if you have any more, but I know you're trying to get going. Yes?
If someone has, if you have your list and you're able to make a referral, and the person was not able to get the help for whatever reason, do you track that? Do you know when it's kind of like a dead end, or?
That's a really good question. To a certain extent, yes. We do send follow-up texts, actually. We do ask them if they want one, so if they say no, we don't.
Okay, I get you.
But, I didn't mean to do that. But if they say yes, and most people say yes, but then they don't respond to it.
Okay.
So we send a follow-up text saying, did you get help from the referral we gave you? And then do you need any other assistance? And try to keep that communication going. I took this off for the sake of time, but I did look at our repeat contacts. We do have a small amount of repeat contacts, but we noticed that the number of folks who contact about a different need is greater than those who contact about the same thing. So it's more, it leads us to believe that they did get help with that first thing, and now they need help with the next thing.
I got you.
But there are still people who call about the same thing, and they're like, didn't work. And that's worth knowing.
And so when you get something and it didn't work,
Right.
Is there any way to let that program or agency know that, we're referring to you and people are not
Yes.
getting help?
Anytime we've gotten feedback from an individual about either they don't provide this service, or they have this requirement I didn't know about, we always reach out to confirm
Okay.
that. That's a really good question. That in fact happened not too long ago. We were unaware at a certain point that Bigger Vision was requiring proof of COVID vaccination. That's a pretty big deal. We needed to know that. And a person called back and said, "You didn't tell me that." We're very sorry. We will tell everybody from now on.
Okay.
So
Good, good.
that's
Thank
an
you.
example.
Anything else for Mark?
All right, y'all. We appreciate it.
Thank
you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Out of here.
We got a motion from Commissioner Hool, a second from Commissioner Fisher. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, everybody have a good night. Go safely into the evening.